Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. Let me make sure my audio is correct. Okay, yeah, that's good. Alright, okay. Now let me send out my tweets and Instagram posts and all that shit, my thread posts. Just so you guys know, I'm on Thread now. The hot new social media platform, Thread. Gonna definitely be here to stay. I think so. I guess it's not Twitter anymore, it's fucking X. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm send out my X's. My X about this stream. Yeah, I just X'd this stream. Just so you guys know, follow me on X. Oh, dear Lord. Jeez. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Yeah. Alright, okay, we're gonna be starting in about 10 seconds, so sit tight. We'll get that intro underway. Alrighty. And actually, oh wait, let me pause the stream in the background. I don't need the stream also playing in the background for me. Not necessary. Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and welcome to Dr. Wolfula After Dark, my late night talk show where I chat about the latest things happening in the world of horror. Now, just so you guys know, yeah, I'm aware this month has been very light on content. Super sorry about that. I was gonna take some time away to work on the next big videos. I got 2 big videos lined up. And I was like, okay, I'll have plenty of time for Shark Week to have a shark review ready to go. And I was going to have plenty of time. But unfortunately, then I got sick last week, and I was sick all this week, and I just couldn't get any of that done. So, just so you know, the shark review I had planned, which I'll, mention later in the video, had to be delayed. It's still gonna be made. It's currently being edited, but unfortunately had to get delayed. My bad. It was supposed to be like the last thing this month, and I was supposed to do this stream last Saturday, and I literally got sick the Friday before, and I was like, I announced this stream ahead of time for that Saturday, and I was like, okay, I'm super sick right now, but maybe I can just make it a gag. I'm just sick during this stream and just like power through it, but I was just like delirious. I just couldn't get through it. It would have been just fucking awful, like trying to keep my thoughts together. But I'm fine now. Just peachy keen. As you can tell, the mucus has fully drained from all of my sinuses and my throat, so I'm perfectly fine. Thank you for all your well wishes. Now let's get to the topic at hand for tonight before I get to your questions later. The topic tonight is my thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game. Now, I've been aware of this game since it was announced. I was pleasantly surprised when it was announced, but I was also very skeptical. Because, for one thing, it's being published by Gun Media, who published the Friday the 13th game. And that game, it had that lawsuit that kind of derailed it. But the other issue is, they could have still finished it. They had plenty of time to finish it. And it was like a Kickstarter, too. People pledged money for it. They had plenty of time to finish it and plenty of time to polish it. But they just didn't, and it just felt like they finally had that lawsuit as like a very convenient excuse to just kind of, say, good luck, guys. Sorry, we can't do anything else with the game. Just make the most of what we have for you, It felt like it wasn't the most graceful way to leave that game. So I was a little iffy about that aspect. But of course, this game, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, is being developed by, I believe, Sumo Interactive. Something Sumo Gaming, Sumo something, a British developer. So it should be a little bit more polished than that Friday the 13th game, which was made by... What was that publisher? What was that developer? Polyphonic? I don't know. Like a weird fucking name. I just remember Gun Media because they were super easy. But technically Gun Media just published the games. They don't develop them. I think maybe they have some like creative input, but still, I was just iffy about the gun part. I was like, I don't know, gun. And also iffy about the fact that we haven't had great luck with Texas Chainsaw Massacre in video games. We had the fucking Call of Duty Leatherface skin where he has like a chain gun. That wasn't so great, and of course the Atari game hasn't really held up 40 years later. It's a bit of a shitty game. Series has not gotten off to the right foot as far as gaming is concerned. And this new game, I'm just iffy about it also because it's another asymmetrical horror game. I'm not super into multiplayer stuff. I was hoping if they made a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, they'd figure out some way to make it single player. It would have been cool if they could have made it like, well, that one publisher that did Until Dawn. Like, something like that could be like a narrative thing where your choices matter, that kind of thing. That could basically an interactive Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. But it's just another asymmetrical game, a little bit dime a dozen these days. It feels like every year there's a new horror franchise getting adapted into the asymmetrical video game platform. Like, I don't know. I'm just not so into it. I'm hoping the trend dies and we get a little bit more variety with these video game adaptations. But also, I'm a little iffy by the fact that they seem to only be limited to the first movie. They can't really, at least so far, they can't use anything from the sequels. So you can't have Chop Top. You can't have the Viggo Mortensen character from the third. You can't have, like, random character. You can't have Matthew McConaughey show up or anything like that. You can't have anything like that. You can't have Sheriff Hoyt. You can't really draw from any of the sequels, supposedly. Now, I've had some people tell me, well, they've, hinted that they'll be able to have some DLC from the sequels, but starting out, they just have this first movie to work with. So that comes with the fact that they don't really have enough characters. I mean, the interesting twist of this game with the killers is that there seems to be, I think, 3 killers at once. But I guess to add variety, they had to create new characters. So they have a female character named Sissy and a kind of generic-looking guy named Johnny. I guess it's kind of a Ted Bundy-esque character, who were both created by Kim Henkel, who co-created the franchise. But, they don't really look great. They look kind of generic and shitty. They look like something Rob Zombie would come up with or something. I don't know. They look like they'd fit in, like, I don't know, in, like, House of 1,000 Corpses. They just don't really look like they come from this same family. But I guess it's nice that they tried to make up for the fact that they can't use any of the other fucking franchise's characters, I guess, to make up for it, but not feeling these characters. I don't know if anyone will want to play as these characters. I guess maybe female players will just be like, well, this is the female character, it's something. I would feel like they would maybe want a more fucked up character, like, I don't know. Sissy seems like she's just a Sherry Moon Zombie copycat character. So I'm not so into the new characters. It just feels like fan fiction in the middle of something that's like looks so faithful to the original movie. But the interesting, it has another interesting mechanic with Grandpa. You can't play as Grandpa, but you can essentially feed Grandpa blood and he can track down survivors for you. I guess he has like a sixth sense. He can see through walls and tell you when there's a survivor nearby, so that's interesting. But I guess another interesting aspect of this game, though, is that it's essentially taking place within the universe of the original movie. So it has, like, all new characters and an all-new quote-unquote story, I guess a meta-story with these asymmetrical horror games. Essentially, you have this new cast of characters who are looking for their friend Maria Flores. She went missing. I think it's safe to say she's probably just dead. And it's all going to be about them surviving. So you don't really have any of the characters from the original movie. You don't have Sally. You don't have Franklin, which is a bit of a shame. I wish they had a Franklin surrogate character in this game, though. Like, force somebody to have to fucking play as the dude in the wheelchair. That would have been so great. Like, you just get shafted. Like, I'm sorry, every match, one person has to play as Franklin. One person has to be in the fucking wheelchair. Like, that would have been a great mechanic, just to screw over one player. That would have been fucking great. Just, like, playing as Franklin and, like, just, you're guaranteed to die. Like, oh, God, that would be great. I guess maybe Franklin could be, like, the equivalent to Grandpa, though, where you have to feed him sausages, and he'll reveal where the killers are. I guess maybe that could have worked. But yeah, Maria is from Uvalde, Texas, as someone points out. This game was in development for a while, and maybe they could have picked a different place, but it is what it is. So, I'm iffy about... I guess I'm a little bit... I guess since this is essentially, it seems like this is a prequel to the original movie, I can at least kind of get behind it in that way. And it has some interesting mechanics with the survivors where it's much more stealth-based than many other asymmetrical horror games, it seems like. The Leatherface house, and I think there's also I think they also have a slaughterhouse, and just like all the maps have like essentially noisemakers, be they chicken cages or just like bones that are hanging from the ceiling, stuff that makes noise, so you have to be very careful because that shit can just instantly alert the killers. So it looks interesting as a stealth game, but then again, I'm not super into stealth. I'm hoping there can be some ways to like really even the odds if you're a survivor through teamwork, maybe like get the jump on the killers, like fuck them up a bit, because it seems like based on what I've seen of gameplay, like the killers can really just really have you by the balls if you're a survivor, which I guess it would be the case if you were in one of these movies, but still, But anyway, I'm going to be talking about, I guess I'll just be talking over the gameplay footage that is officially released. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have access to the beta. I tried to, but I couldn't get access to it. It was basically, I guess, a lottery system, or I guess I don't know. I guess I could have told them I was Dr. Wolfula. Maybe they would have given me access, but it's just a nobody. I couldn't get access to the beta, so I didn't get a chance to play it before release. I will be playing it when it comes out, though. I will be buying it. Oh, wait, actually, I won't have to buy it. It'll be coming to Xbox Game Pass. So remember that. If you have Xbox, and if you have Game Pass, you don't even have to fucking buy this game. So that's actually that's a ringing endorsement for me. Like, it's a game you don't even have to really buy. Hell yeah. But the thing that I love about the game, like the one thing that really has won me over about the game, of course, has not been the gameplay. I could just take it or leave it. The new characters just feel kind of tacky. But the atmosphere, like how they captured the world of the original movie, this looks so fucking... This looks like the first ever true attempt at making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing that's actually fucking true to the original movie. Like, it feels like, I don't know, because, like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, it's a great fun, but it's not anything like the original movie. Same thing with 3. None of the movies have really done a good job capturing the tone and atmosphere of this original film, but this game, like, it looks like the real deal. They, like, painstakingly recreated these sets. They got Edwin Neal to reprise the role of the Hitchhiker. I think he's, like, the only guy alive from the original movie who's come back. I feel like, I don't know, I'm hoping the voice I'm hearing in the trailer for The Hitchhiker is just a temp track, because it doesn't really sound like Edwin Neal. And I know it's been 50 years, but I don't know, it sounds like, I don't know, an impersonator. And also, of course, Kane Hodder plays Leatherface's motion capture. Like, I feel like he's really captured Gunnar Hansen's body language in a way live-action actors haven't been able to manage with Leatherface in the recent live-action films. Like, and like the golden hour, like it's also like a change of pace from a lot of these asymmetrical games, because you have the main map take place during golden hour, like during either sunset or morning. It's up in the air, I guess, because you have golden hour twice in the original film. It looks striking, and it looks like it really captures what the original film looked like. And it's also just different from these asymmetrical games because they always take place in dark places exclusively. So it'll be interesting to play a stealth-based game during daylight sections. Like, to have a different kind of horror where you can see everything around you. So yeah, this game's coming out August 18th, and I'm looking forward to it. And, okay, actually, this Billy D. Williams guy, I forgot this part of the trailer. Maybe he'll survive. No, he's not going to survive. So, I'm looking forward to the game. I also just wanted to show these comparisons of screenshots from the movie and the game. Like, this looks so fucking faithful to the original movie. Like, you know, there's little differences. You could spot little differences, but if you showed me the screenshot from the film and the game, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Like, I wouldn't be able to, like, remember, okay, there was a difference there. The same thing with this shot. I mean, okay, this shot's a little bit easier to tell the difference because the bench is a little bit, I don't know, the bench in the game version, yeah, it looks a little bit more, I guess, geometric. It looks a little bit more boxy. But besides that, looks pretty close. The trees are different, but again, if I was just shown, if I did like a Pepsi challenge thing, I might have a little bit of a difficulty. I guess, I don't know, the grass might be what gives it away in the game one. A little less texture, I suppose. But this shot especially, besides the van, it's like pretty fucking close. The only real difference is they changed the Coca-Cola logo to Quick Cola, which I guess is because they obviously cannot, they can't license Coca-Cola. And I think, I don't know, it's so funny. It used to be, nobody gave a fuck about having to license these things. They could just, you'd see Coca-Cola logos, Pepsi logos in horror movies all the time, like, just without a care in the world. Now it's just, like, much more careful. I think maybe it's either, I don't know, they're afraid of getting sued, or they're just like, if we're gonna show this logo, we want to get paid for it. It's either that or the other. Because it's like, you never hear any issues of, like, retroactive things where it's like, where it's like somebody from the Coca-Cola company complains about their logo being in Texas Chainsaw Massacre years later and asking for it to get, like, erased from it. You never hear about that. So it's got to be just, if we're going to show the logo now, we want to make sure it's, like, product placement. We're getting paid for it. Yeah. But yeah, I have my issues with this Texas Chainsaw Massacre game so far. I'm honestly skeptical that this game will have, like, a lifespan, because the Evil Dead game, I feel like, had just tons of fucking content, like, on release. It had, like, so much more credibility behind it. It had, like, Bruce Campbell, had, like, all the cast members. It eventually represented basically the entire film and TV franchise through all of its DLC, and all that behind it. But even it feels still kind of, it still has a player base, but it's kind of, I don't know, slowed down, it seems. And I don't know, like, I'm hoping this game steps it up post-release and gives us, like, DLC packs based on the sequels and gives us some more stuff that, I don't know, like, varied fans. Because I feel like, I don't know, as a fan of the original movie, I'm pleased by it focusing on representing the original movie. But I got a feeling there's going to be some people who are a bit more into, like, the remakes are going to be like, where's Sheriff Hoyt? Why doesn't Leatherface look like Thomas Hewitt or whatever, like that kind of shit? Like, I got a feeling, I don't know, they got to try to license the rights to some of these sequels, because unfortunately the franchise, the rights are split up in all kinds of different directions. So hopefully they can figure that out, because if it's just that original movie, even though I'm a huge fan of the original movie, there's only so much you can, like, squeeze from that lemon. There's like, I guess you could use your imagination and come up with new places, based on, like, inspired by the original movie, but I don't know. I feel like it's just going to end up getting stretched thin, because people are going to want, stuff from, like, the other movies. Hopefully they can work it out, but I guess we'll see. I'll be playing it once it releases. Just wanted to chat about it before it does. Now, I guess we'll be moving on to some brief announcements, and then we'll get to the Q&A. All right, channel announcements. Here we go. And I see I got some super chats. I'll make sure to address them ASAP. Now, first things first, my Cruel Jaws review had to get delayed after Shark Week. I was hoping for it to be up today or tomorrow, but it just didn't end up happening. But it'll be up next week, so keep an eye out for that. Also, my long-shelved A Nightmare on Elm Street 5 review will be up next on the channel, so if you've been waiting for that, finally be coming soon. There's not going to be other projects I need to get out of the way. But also, the video before that will actually be the Scooby-Doo Mystery Begins review on the Gulag channel. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a really fun video. That's going to be a fun video. It's just as much a me video as it is a Goulash video, so make sure to subscribe to the Gulag channel. And I blocked Shaggy's face, so you can see Shaggy's face now. All right, okay, blocked it again. Looking forward to that video, especially, once we get this Cruel Jaws video out of the way. Also, tomorrow, Sunday, I'm going to be having my weekly movie night stream of Jaws the Revenge. I don't stream Jaws the Revenge weekly. We've been streaming the Jaws movies weekly, though. So if you want to support the channel, you'll get access to a movie night every Sunday. This Sunday will be Jaws the Revenge, so, you know, consider it. Also, going to be having my Halloween The Old Myers Place review up soon, along with the audiobook. But if you want to listen to the audiobook early, in parts, you can listen to the first 50 pages, the first 5 chapters of the audiobook early on my Patreon. Though if you don't want to support the Patreon, don't worry. The full audiobook will be here on YouTube in full, but, you know, if you want to listen to it as I go along, you know, consider it. All right, and finally, merch promo, tpublic.com/user/Dr. Wolfula, if you're interested in, you know, supporting the channel in a different way while also showing off your support. All right, now we're moving on to the Q&A where I talk with you folks. You fine folks, you fine supporters and subscribers of my channel. Let's catch up with the Super Chats real quick. Let me see. Okay, all right. Okay, looks like I found the first Super Chat. Ross Ferguson has a Super Chat. Hi, Dr. Wolf. Can you wish my friend EJ good happy birthday tomorrow? Thank you. Happy birthday, EJ. Hopefully you're going to have a great birthday Sunday. Hopefully you're going to be meeting all kinds of friends for a wonderful birthday party and have some cake, I presume. Cake's always good. I definitely recommend getting some cake. Actually, this year for my birthday, I got a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup ice cream cake. That was fucking good. So, yeah, definitely, if you're looking for some advice on birthday cakes, check out the Reese's Peanut Butter ice cream cake. And Joseph D. just had a super chat donation. Thank you, Joseph. All right, let's find the next super chat question to catch up on real quick. Jeffrey Trailer has a super chat. It's hot enough to literally cook. Oh, man, I'm, like, wiped out from just talking nonstop about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the game. Oh, dear Lord. How long was I streaming just, like, talking about the game? Like, let me look at the timer. Where is that time? Wow, 20 minutes, dear Lord. Okay, but Jeffrey T has a super chat. It's hot enough to literally cook toast outside. I agree with you. I have to turn off my fucking AC for these streams, and it is legitimately hot. I haven't even touched my fucking bottle of water this whole time. Let me drink some of this, damn. Oh, yeah. Telepathically drinking water. Okay, yeah, that hits the spot, damn. 3 Trailers Down as a super chat. Do you think a Scooby-Doo game could work? Switching through different characters in the gang trying to solve a mystery? I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think an asymmetrical Scooby-Doo game would be fucking kick-ass. I'm usually not so into asymmetrical games, but I think if you work that out where you have 5 players play as the members of the Mystery Inc. gang, and you essentially have a monster, like, chasing them around, and trying to stop them from finding the clues that can point to their identity, and, you know, they can set their own traps for the monster, and the monster can, like, grab them and shit, and, like, tie them up, and, you know, not kill them, and nothing like that. I think it would be really cool. I think that kind of game would really work, but, you know, if they said they were going to make a new single-player Scooby-Doo game, I maybe prefer that, just because there's just so many asymmetrical games. I feel like in a few years, the only kinds of games that are coming out are just going to be asymmetrical games. I hope not, though. Oh, God, I hope not. Oh, Ross Ferguson has another super chat. Oh, wishing his friend AJ good. Oh, not EJ good. Oh, I know AJ good. Yeah, happy birthday to you, AJ. Happy birthday. Oh, man. So that first super chat said EJ. Oh, that's not correct. But happy birthday to AJ. That's for sure. All right. Now let's find some regular old questions. Let's see. Okay. Not JPEG says, Not JPEG asks, worst RoboCop film, Part 3 or the 2014 remake? Now, I didn't see the remake, but from what I saw, it looked like it was a competently made modern action movie. Just kind of sucked out a lot of the things that made RoboCop unique, but it looked like it was reasonably entertaining. But that third one was really shitty. It was really shitty. And I saw that one, so I could confirm it. So I guess I would have to say RoboCop 3 would be safe. Ricky the Mad Dragon has a super chat. Hello, Doc. Do you sometimes think or feel that the Dead by Daylight gameplay style or genre gets kind of old and overused in many horror licenses? I mean, I was never really into Dead by Daylight. I've tried it a few times, but I was never into that kind of asymmetrical horror game. I don't know, it just never really connected with me just because, I don't know, I never really understood the controls and the rules of the game. I never really quite got it in the same way Friday the 13th game got to me, with just being just a straight up, well, you're Jason and you have to fucking kill the camp counselors, and if you're the camp counselors, you just have to figure out different ways to escape, that was pretty straightforward, I appreciated that kind of thing. So I just never got into that style, but I do, I am, fatigued by all these announcements of various asymmetrical horror games. I feel like next year we might end up seeing an announcement of a Halloween game that's asymmetrical. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like that's the real big thing for the franchise to, tide it over, because there's not going to be another movie for a little while, so I wouldn't be surprised, but, then again, I don't know. I feel like Malik Akkad, I don't know. He doesn't quite, I would have thought the Halloween game would have come out a long time ago by now, but it still hasn't happened, so I don't know. I mean, maybe it's taken a while because they want to make sure they have the licensing for all the sequels because they're owned by different companies. So, I mean, if they made a Halloween asymmetrical game, I'd sigh, but I'd still play it and buy it just because I'm such a fucking Halloween fan. And I would hope they could, draw from all the different entries in the franchise, that's for sure. Alright, Jimmy Comer asks, how would you rank the Peel movies? Missed Your Face, also Mortal Kombat horror guest characters, who would you want to see? Well, I mean, I guess for Mortal Kombat horror characters, I would just want fucking Michael Myers. I'd get that game in a heartbeat if it had Michael Myers. From what I saw, the guest characters just seem to be, edgy superhero characters. The Amazon Prime edgy superhero universe characters. So, not as interested in that. I'm very, I don't know, I have, Mortal Kombat. I started playing I played through the whole campaign of Mortal Kombat X. And I started the campaign of Mortal Kombat 11, but, I'm not a huge fighting game guy. I did Injustice 1 and 2. I played through those campaigns. I'm ultimately more of a campaign guy. If there's, a story or single player, I'm down for it. I guess I didn't mention that with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. I'm hoping it has a single player mode in some way. It probably doesn't. I'm hoping at the very least it has a competent tutorial, an optional competent tutorial that breaks down how to play the game, so I'm not jumping in blind, because that's a fucking thing I hate about these multiplayer only games, is that they won't even have a good tutorial. So it is just, I don't know, just fucking go into it, and hopefully you get the hang of playing this game, or it's they expect you to look up a fucking YouTube video of somebody else explaining how to play the game. I don't like that. I'm hoping it at least has a tutorial. But back to your question of ranking the Peel movies, I'd say my favorite would have to be Nope. I really liked Nope. Then my second favorite would have to be Get Out, and then the third would have to be Us. Us was fine. It was an original concept, but at the same time, it felt a little half-baked. It felt a little, I don't know, a little, I don't know, just a cool idea that it wasn't totally, I don't know, kind of just a little too abstract in its execution, and it kind kind of becomes a little, I don't know, a little predictable towards the final act, where it's like, okay, I can see where this is going by now. Not as good as the other two, but usually the second act in a 3-part. Well, I guess it's not really a trilogy, but usually the second part is the best. But I like that third one. I like that third one he did the most. Eric V has a super chat. What do you think they'll do next with the Halloween franchise after Halloween ends? Sequel to H4, reboot it again, another remake, prequel? Well, I think the most obvious thing they can do is a video game. I would be interested in that, even if it's asymmetrical, just to have some more Halloween stuff. My cat is, like, scratching his collar, so there's, like, some bell ringing sounds. All right, that's done. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I'd be down for anything they would do for a Halloween game, as long as it's like a good execution of what it is. Man, that cat is still scratching that collar. He's like trying to get to me. So, if they do decide to make an asymmetrical Halloween game, I would hope it's at least a good asymmetrical game, like, something where, even if it's not my style of game, I could still get behind it and still play it for a while. I mean, I wasn't into asymmetrical games when I played Friday the 13th or Evil Dead, but the gameplay was direct enough where I could just jump into it and still have a good time playing it. Even if it wasn't really my type of game, I could still get behind it. But besides that, I think they could try to figure out some way to make a Halloween TV series, explore a reimagined version of the world. Maybe, I don't know. I think TV seems like the future for Halloween for a while. Just because you're seeing like, Camp Crystal Lake is getting like its own TV show. You're getting the Mrs. Voorhees prequel series. So maybe they could figure out some way to do something with Dr. Loomis, or just some aspect of the Halloween mythos that they can expand upon. Because, I don't know, you can't really make a Michael Myers-centric, like, TV show, because he's silent. So you need to have, like, a character you can latch onto that maybe is going after Michael, hunting him down in some way. Or maybe you could just do, like, do, like, an anthology horror movie every year. Just, like, do, like, one-off Michael Myers stories that aren't necessarily connected. Just, like, I don't know, like, just free things up. Because that's something I liked about horror comics, the horror comics that used to come out in, like, the 2000s. You could, like, expand on the mythos, but not worry too much about affecting, I don't know, any main stories. It's just like, here's, like, this is what Dr. Loomis was up to during this time. Or this is, this is Mrs. Voorhees' origin story, or whatever. Like, just these, like, little stories. I guess what they tried to do with Star Wars, with those Star Wars story movies. They didn't quite work out, but, maybe give it a shot with Halloween or another horror franchise. Or just bring back fucking horror comics to do that, I guess. That's also another option. But, if they do make another movie, I think it's definitely going to be a reboot. They definitely have to start off fresh, because they already did the requel thing. They can't do it again. I mean, they could do it again, technically, but it's, Alucard says, only bothering with Texas Chainsaw Massacre since it'll be on Game Pass day one. Me too. I mean, I would have bought it, but the fact that I don't have to buy it is, good news to me. Hopefully it's on PC Game Pass. I don't know if it's on PC Game Pass. It's going to definitely be on, on the Xbox. I could definitely dust off my Xbox, though, to play it. I guess that's an option. All right. William Slater says, actually, a sequel to Halloween 3 would be cool. I was thinking you could make a Halloween 3 requel and maybe explore, an alt universe of what happened after the events of Halloween 3. Like, I don't know, like, what if Silver Shamrock succeeded? What happened in this alt universe? That kind of thing, and not worry about, like, not call it Halloween necessarily. Or if you do, just, you don't have to have the baggage of numbering it. You could just call it Halloween Season of the Witch. Like, just, and of course use, like, the, I guess, I don't know, the iconography of the Halloween franchise, kind of. Halloween 3 just sort of subtly used the iconography of the franchise, where it had, like, a jack-o'-lantern opening, but it was, pixel art kind of. It was that kind of thing. Well, actually, it was line art, but something like that. I don't know. You could definitely just sort of do something with Halloween 3, but I don't know if they will. It would be cool, though. I definitely appreciate it. That could be the way forward. You could also just use the name Halloween, don't put a number by it, and just make these anthology films that essentially, that essentially have the style of Halloween, but they don't have Michael Myers in them. They don't have the baggage of having, like, a number next to their names or whatever. So you could do that. That's an option. Or I also thought it could maybe work. You could do, like, an old school anthology movie type of approach to it, where you have essentially a Halloween movie with 3 stories. 2 of them can be whatever, and then one of them has to involve Michael Myers in some way. So you're getting Michael Myers every year, a little dose of Michael Myers, but you're also getting the 2 other stories that still have the John Carpenter flavor to them. That's another approach. There's different options, but it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know, they could be kind of risky, I don't know. And, film companies don't necessarily want to take risks or get, like, creative with a franchise or a license or whatever. They want to, like, play it safe. So I guess we'll see what happens with Halloween. There's definitely options, because I know they're definitely going to bring it back, but I don't know. King of the Fat has a super chat. Thank you, King of the Fat. I just got out of Oppenheimer, and at the end, after he talks with Einstein, they test the hydrogen bomb, the camera goes underwater and glowing eyes open, and the camera fades to black and we hear a familiar roar. Whoa! They're setting up Godzilla and Oppenheimer? So Oppenheimer was a fucking stealth Godzilla prequel? Holy shit, holy fuck. Okay, alright, I gotta check this out now. Now, it's actually fucked up. This has been a week where, Barbie and Oppenheimer came out. Didn't see either of them. I'm gonna see both of them eventually, but, I'm not gonna see Barbie by myself. I gotta get a female along with me, it's definitely gotta be the thing. I guess I could see Oppenheimer by myself, but still I'd like to see it with somebody, but I haven't been able to line that up. But, yeah, I gotta see Oppenheimer. But yeah, I haven't seen either of them. You know what movies I did see this week, though, that came out? So, the same day Oppenheimer and Barbie came out, the new Venture Brothers movie came out. Venture Brothers, Radiant is the Blood of the Baboon Heart, which was a great farewell/finale to the Venture Brothers TV series that I've been watching for 20 years. It's finally nice to have, like, a good send-off to the characters. It basically, it answers lots of questions, the Venture Brothers movie, but it also leaves some questions unanswered, like, leaves the door open for them to bring the show back, hopefully, but if they don't, I'm fine with what they did accomplish with that movie. But then the other movie I saw, which I saw yesterday that came out this week, the Haunted Mansion movie, because, like, okay, I couldn't find anybody who wanted to watch Barbie and Oppenheimer in a timely fashion, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll just watch Haunted Mansion for now. And the Haunted Mansion movie, yeah, it was okay, it was a little misleading because I was expecting it to be a lot scarier and a lot spookier than it turned out to be, but it really wasn't really spooky at all. It was kind of much more goofy, much more funny, quote-unquote funny, not really funny, but it did have some nice homages to the theme park ride that I appreciated, but yeah, it wasn't very good, but, it was entertaining, it got the job done. It was a little, I don't know, it was a little hard to follow what was going on with the main ghost, the Hatbox Ghost, which is the villain. I don't really remember what his main fucking, what his, like, actual motivation as a villain was. He was doing something. He wanted to kill Lakeith Stanfield for some reason, like, to do something, to have 1,000 ghosts. I don't remember why, though, but it was okay, it's not worth seeing in the theater, but, it was okay. Alright, okay, let's see, what else we got here, let me see. Way Cool Dude asks, what's your cat's name? Sorry if that's a bit too personal. His name is Mason. His name is Mason, and he was named after Mason Verger, a character from Hannibal, and my head is like, really? Okay, there we go. Yeah, he's named after a character from Hannibal, the book Hannibal / the movie Hannibal, but the character also appeared in the TV show. Very evil character. I didn't name him, but yeah, his name is Mason, so just so you know. Ross Ferguson has a super chat. Doctor, can I send you pictures of my cats if it's okay? I follow you on Instagram. Sure you can. I always appreciate some cat photos. You know, if you got pictures of your cats you want to send me, my email is drwolfulafanmail@gmail.com, so that's also another option. Or you can just send them to me on Instagram, I guess. Nicole18 asks, thoughts on the new Exorcist movie? I saw the trailer. It looks promising. You know, at the same time, it looks, I don't know. It looks a little too, I don't know. It kind of lacks the, tastefulness of the original movie. It kind of has a little bit of the, I don't know, the modern day goofiness, the modern day horror sort of, I don't know, like the way the trailer handles the horror, it just feels very cliched in its approach. And also, you know, it's David Gordon Green making a new Exorcist movie, and it seems like his approach is, again, to bring back one of the characters from the original movie as an old lady to fight the evil in a new trilogy of films. I'm hoping for the best, but I can definitely see this movie sort of falling flat. It's, you know, especially since Exorcist is considered one of, if not the best horror movies ever made. I could definitely see making, like, a direct sequel like that, like, skipping all the other sequels and just being like, this is the true continuation, and it not quite measuring up to the original movie. I could see it sort of not working out. But at the very least, it's called Exorcist Believer. It's not called The Exorcist, so it's not like the typical requel thing where it's like, all right, we're going to call it the name of the original movie. Yeah. And it doesn't quite live up to that name. So, you know, at the very least, it's like, this is definitely a sequel. You know, it's no confusion there. Wish they did that more frequently, but they haven't been doing that. And thank you for the super chat, Rich S. Ricky X asks, if the Slender Man movie was a success, do you think other popular creepypasta stories would make decent movies like Jeff the Killer or Eyeless Jack? Didn't they already make a Slender Man movie and it wasn't, like, good? I mean, yeah, they can make, like, you know, I don't know. It's hard to really make these creepypasta movies because you have to license these things. You can't just make a movie. You have to, like, track down the random person on the internet who wrote the story originally, and that can be very difficult. It can be difficult to verify that. So it's, like, part of the reason why you don't see that at all. Really, you haven't seen Jeff the Killer at all, because they can't track down who created it, and you can't just make it. Like, because then it's like somebody can just pop up and say, hey, I made that. Where's my fucking money later? So, you know, that's why you don't really see that. Unless it's like a fan film, something on the internet, and like something like that. But, you know, we did get something like that with Channel Zero, which was a good anthology series reimagining creepypastas. If you haven't seen that, check that out. The first season adapted Candle Cove, which was in a very interesting, unique way. It doesn't, like, that show doesn't, like, straight up adapt the stories as they were written. It, like, comes up with its own takes based on the premises, but it's definitely worth a watch. I wish it kept going, but, you know, it is what it is. Alright, let's see. Lichlord asks, ever seen the Japanese horror flick Sweet Home? If not, easy recommend. Haunted house / ghost story with great atmosphere and 80s effects. I haven't seen it, but I am familiar with the video game adaptation of it. I'm aware that the video game version of Sweet Home, I believe it was Sweet Home, had a video game. That's what inspired many survival horror games later, especially Resident Evil. So I'm aware of that bit of horror history surrounding it, but I haven't seen the movie myself or even played the game myself. I just, a little bit of horror history, at least, under my hat, at the very least. All right, I'm going to cut to some Patreon questions, and I'll get back to you folks live. 3 Trailers Down asked, you get full creative control. How would you make a new Scooby-Doo movie? I would like to try to make a new live-action version of Scooby-Doo that's as aesthetically and stylistically close to the original series as possible. Something that can be scary in a PG way without any violence in it. Something maybe like Goonies, but with a guy dressed up as a ghost. Johnny Allright asked, what's up, Doc? One of my favorite 80s movies is The Monster Squad. Please do a video on it. I will at some point. Stay tuned. Anthony asked, question for Doc. Who is your favorite woman villain, either in the DC/Marvel universe? Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series. I really like her voice and the design of her costume. I do miss when she was more of a cult figure who rarely appeared, because now that she's popular, she's become oversaturated and reimagined to the point where she isn't recognizable as the same character anymore. I fucked up back there. That Monster Squad poster was covering my fucking head. Oh, man. A little embarrassing. Anyway, Rich S says Barbarian is awesome. Barbarian is an awesome film. You need to watch it. I have seen it, and I don't know. Yeah, it was definitely a highlight of 2022 for me. Definitely really enjoyed that movie. Just for the experience of watching it for the first time, it's definitely quite a trip. It definitely goes in directions you don't expect. It's a little wacky, where it's like, it starts out feeling very grounded. Oh, man, okay, I gotta put on mute. It starts out really grounded. Oh, Ross actually... Okay, that notification was actually Ross sending me cat photos. All right. Check those out later. Like, Barbarian starts out really grounded, and then it gets really goofy and over the top later, but still really fun, where it's like, oh, where the hell is this going? How is any of this connecting? And then it all comes together in the end in a interesting way. So, yeah, I definitely enjoyed Barbarian. Don't really have any major complaints. Maybe the horror being less goofy and crazy compared to the rest of it, maybe might have changed that, but it's whatever. Because I noticed a lot of people were like, I don't know, this stuff, I was down for the Pennywise dude maybe trying to kill her and you're not sure or whatever. But then there's the, okay, I don't want to spoil it now. Okay. Let's see. Trey asks, Doc, have you ever thought about doing videos around unmade slasher films like Halloween Returns or the multiple Freddy vs. Jason scripts that went unused? In some cases, I have done that. I made a video about All-American Massacre, which is kind of funny because somebody took over the All-American Massacre domain and used the thumbnail for my video as its banner image, which is really funny. So I made a video about that, and, when Halloween Returns was first announced, I made a video talking about the news, but, that movie didn't end up getting made. I was talking about it as it was happening, of course. Yeah, it could be interesting, because I'm aware there's these 2 Halloween books made by fans recently that I saw on Amazon about, essentially, the unmade Halloween scripts, exploring that history, so maybe I'd pick those up sometime and, I guess delve into some of the Halloween stuff that didn't get made. Though, of course, in some of my Halloween reviews recently, I have gone into the stuff that almost happened in between a little bit, like the versions of Halloween 6 that almost got made but didn't end up taken off. Because, Halloween 6, apparently John Carpenter was going to come back, but he wanted Halloween 6 to take place in space, supposedly, and they didn't want to end up doing that. Could be, could be fun to, I guess, explore the different what-if scenarios, because there's been lots of different proposed Halloween movies, but also there's been lots of different proposed 13th Friday the 13th movies. I guess that could be an interesting video, like the 13th Friday the 13th movies that never were. I guess something like that, because there's been a few scripts that were pitched and were seemingly greenlit for a little while, but then ended up going nowhere. Ooh, thanks for the super chat sticker, Rich Az. Isaac B. as Isaac B says, I just had a thought. If they made a live-action Scooby-Doo where Scooby was just a normal dog and didn't talk, would people get pissed off or would they understand? Well, the thing, I don't know. The thing with Scooby-Doo talking, I've always had the point of view that Scooby-Doo isn't actually speaking English. He's talking like a dog. It's just we, the audience, can understand him, and because the Scooby-Doo gang know Scooby so well, they can understand what he's saying, too. But I always just thought of it as, he's just barking. It's just, the Scooby gang understand him, because, like, sometimes Scooby will, like, try to communicate something to the gang, and he'll do that Courage the Cowardly Dog shit, where he's, like, changing shape to try to make them understand what he's saying, like, if he saw, like, a scary robot, he'll, like, change shape into a scary robot to try to communicate that to the gang, where, like, he has, like, I don't know, little lapses where he can't communicate something. So it's always been, I don't know, my idea that he can't actually speak English. But I guess if they made a live-action thing and it was just Scooby and he just barked, like, and we just couldn't understand him at all, it depends. I mean, if it was, like, trying to be grounded, I think people would, I guess, get that, where it's like if they were trying to make, like, a dark Scooby-Doo teen drama thing, they wouldn't have him talking necessarily. At the very least, it would be nice to have him, because I feel like if they did that, they might not, they just might not even have Scooby-Doo in it. They'll just, like, yeah, we'll just cut him out like Velma. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the effort. Because dogs are, dogs are a bitch. They're a bitch to shoot. Like, literally, if you're dealing with a female dog, they're a bitch, but they're also a bitch if, you're shooting them in general, just because they can be a little difficult to, get to hit their marks, get to make the, like, that, which is why, Scooby's always fucking CGI in live-action stuff anyway, so I feel like if they did a live-action thing, probably end up being CGI again anyway, I don't know, But, let's move on. And welcome to Doc's Movie Night. Double X Ask Dante Double X. Let me see. Let's find a... Not JPEG says Chud 2, Bud the Chud. Cool or cringe? Now, I've seen the original Chud, but I still haven't gotten around to seeing the sequel. One of these days I will. I'm kind of surprised there aren't more Chud movies, but the fact that there's only 2, that's good news to me. Actually, there's probably, I wouldn't be surprised if there's, like, some fucking Italian knockoff sequels, though, too. And, I think Chud 2 is essentially kind of a knockoff sequel. From what I've seen, it seems like it's not really tied to the original movie in any meaningful ways. But I still need to check it out. It seems like it's much more of a comedic movie, I think. Or maybe I'm mistaken, but I don't know. It's called Bud the Chud. It's gotta have some jokes. Funny Clown says, I personally don't want any more live-action Scooby-Doo. I disagree with you. I would be open to that as long as, I don't know, I want to see something that captures the feel of the original series, but, if they don't do that, I'd be fine with no more live-action Scooby-Doo, sure. Alright, Mr. Video says, I'm gonna watch all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies to celebrate the game's release, along with Killer Clowns from Outer Space and the Scream movies. Oh yeah, that Killer Clowns from Outer Space asymmetrical game is coming out too. That's like, I don't know, like, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a classic, but it's so surprising they're also making an asymmetrical game based on that, of all things. It's crazy, they're really, feels like they're getting a little desperate for these asymmetrical movie games, but, they're going for it, though. They are going for it. But yeah, when you watch all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, it should be a short marathon, because there's only really 3 of them, so, you might see some other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies after that, but, you can ignore those, there's just 3, you just need to watch 3. Hardcore Hunter asks, Doc, did you see Stephen King's Boogeyman? Seemed to slide in and out of theaters without anyone talking about it. I wanted to see it, but I never got around to it, unfortunately, while it was in theaters. I I was interested in it just because The Boogeyman was one of my favorite. Oh, well, I hit the mic. Was one of my favorite short stories from Stephen King's Night Shift collection of short stories. I was always surprised that it never really got a real adaptation up to this point. I guess maybe because The Boogeyman is such a, it's a title anyone can really use, and you've seen Boogeyman movies that aren't related to that short story at all. Like, there were 3 Boogeyman movies in the last 20 years, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. But it had like an interesting approach to the Boogeyman, where I don't know how it plays out in the movie, because I didn't see it, I just saw the trailer, but the movie seems like it's totally different from the short story anyway. It seems like it's one of those fucking Lawnmower Man things, where they kind of just maybe call it Stephen King's The Boogeyman because Stephen King is a well-known name. It doesn't seem like it's related to the short story, because essentially the short story is a guy who's seeing his therapist, who's been, like, the guy was accused of killing his kids, but he couldn't have possibly killed his kids. Like, he was cleared of those charges, but he claims his kids were fucking killed by the Boogeyman, and he's breaking down his whole story. Like, he'd, like, move to different houses, but the Boogeyman would keep killing his kids, that kind of thing. And then the twist at the end is the Boogeyman is actually the therapist he was seeing. Oh, no. And now the therapist is gonna kill him, like, I guess that kind of thing. Doesn't seem like that's what the movie is at all, but still interesting. I would be interested to see what from the story ended up making the cut, I suppose. Like, what about it warrants it being called Stephen King's The Boogeyman? Because it is also funny. Like, Night Shift, the Night Shift short story collection also had Children of the Corn in it, which had a new adaptation this year, which I did not see. And, if you haven't read Children of the Corn, it's only 10 pages long. So it's insane that they've made like a dozen Children of the Corn movies based on a 10-page short story. Like, it's nuts. And, like, the short story is as, like, vague and, it only suggests things for the most part. Like, the couple, like the Linda Hamilton couple in the short story, they just, like, go to this town and it seems to be empty, and they seem to find some kind of hints that only children live in this town, but they don't, based on my recollection of the story, they don't encounter any kids until the kids jump them at the end, and then they just really quickly get crucified in some cornfields, and then, like, what walks between the rows comes and fucking kills them in the end. Very quick, short story. It's so surprising that it spawned, like, such a fucking huge franchise. And it's also funny because Stephen King has completely disowned that movie series, too. It's pretty funny. Like, it's like his only horror franchise, and he just wants nothing to do with it. Egan asks, what do you think of the 1999 Mummy remake as a horror movie? It's not really a horror movie. It's got some scary parts. The Mummy is kind of scary, but it's definitely much more. It's basically an Indiana Jones movie. It has essentially the same level of scariness as an Indiana Jones movie. Like, Indiana Jones movies have scary stuff in them, except for the 5th one, which has nothing scary in it at all. Much to my huge disappointment. Nothing scary, nothing gory, nothing cool or anything like that, but generally, Indiana Jones movies will have scary stuff, especially Temple of Doom, like, So, to me, Mummy has always been, like, much more a Indiana Jones spiritual successor sort of thing. Not really tied that much. I mean, it, like, takes some names from the original Karloff film. But then again, I don't know. The original Karloff movie, not really a scary movie. By any standards, I don't feel like. It definitely feels much more like, a tragic romance kind of film. Alright, gonna cut to some more Patreon questions, and I'll get back to you guys live. Anthony asked, Doc, word on the street is that Goulash is a ladies' man. Can you confirm or deny the rumor? No, he was an extra in the movie Ladies' Man starring Tim Meadows. I can understand the confusion. Ghostface Bobby asked, would you ever like to see a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie directed by Rob Zombie, or do you think he would mess it up like he did with Halloween? I mean, if I was given the option of another Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie directed by a guy with little to no filmmaking experience, or Rob Zombie, I'd go with Rob Zombie, sure. It'd be a little redundant, though, since he already remade Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Trevor Seance asked, hello, I have a question for Sid. Do you think your channel would have gotten so big if you just filmed yourself? Maybe, but it wouldn't have been as fun. Oh, I guess that last question got cut off. Oh, damn. Hopefully it gets answered in the next one. Damn, okay, oh, okay, whatever. But anyway, yeah, I definitely need to, you know, fix some of these Patreon question cutaways, but whatever. Anyway, Funny Clown asks, do you think Dial of Destiny is worse than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? It's one of those things where I feel like Dial of Destiny, I don't know, it's less over-the-top goofy, I guess, and relies less on CGI, but, you know, I feel like, at the very least, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull left more of an impact after it released. Like, people were talking about it. It wasn't, like, necessarily totally positive buzz, but it had, like, a ton of fucking marketing. It had, like, merchandise. You saw it around for a while, and people were discussing it. Dial of Destiny came out, and it just felt like people kind of wanted to forget it as soon as possible. It just didn't really leave an impact. I left the theater just kind of feeling, I don't know, hollow and empty inside. It just didn't really feel like a grand conclusion to Indiana Jones's adventures. You know, it just wasn't great. It didn't have like a big, I mean, it technically had the biggest finale of the franchise, but it didn't really feel, it just didn't feel big. It just, I don't know, and I don't, it really rang hollow. So, yeah, I don't know. I would probably want to watch Kicking with the Crystal Skull before Dial of Destiny. I didn't hate Dial of Destiny, it just didn't really leave me feeling much of anything. Oh, well. Oh, well. Mr. Video says, I feel like we need more horror cartoons and adult animation. I would love that. Yeah, you don't really see much in the way of horror represented in animation, unfortunately. Or just anything. I guess you'll see that in Japan. Like, Japan is much more open to exploring different genres in animation, but in America, it is very much, well, here's the kind of animated shows you can make in America. You can make a show that's a sitcom where the characters essentially have oval-shaped heads, circular eyes, and they have, like, noodle arms. It can look like that, and it needs to basically follow a strict formula, and there needs to be, like, a wacky character sidekick or whatever, like that kind of bullshit. It sucks, you know. It'd be nice to see things open up in America as far as animation. You saw that for a while in the 90s. MTV was, like, pushing that forward, and then eventually MTV fell, and, you know, I feel like Adult Swim is kind of opening the door for that more lately, especially giving Genndy Tartakovsky opportunities to make all kinds of neat, new experimental shows like Unicorn or Primal. Yeah, Primal. I was like, the fucking caveman show. Yeah, Primal. And of course his Samurai Jack mini-series where he got to finish off the story, stuff like that. But it'd be nice to see some other voices and see horror explored more in animation, but you know, we did get Phil Tippett made Mad God recently, a stop-motion horror movie, but with that, it's just like, that was like a labor of love. It wasn't something where he got, like, a studio behind him, like, every step of the way. He had to, like, put that forward himself, unfortunately. So, yeah, it overall sucks. It'd be nice to see more horror in animation. I did see they did come out with, like, I don't know, a Night of the Living Dead, I think a reanimated version of Night of the Living Dead, something like that. I think just an animated version of Night of the Living Dead. I saw that came out on DVD and Blu-ray. I didn't check it out though, just because I felt like, I don't know, the art style. I wasn't so into it, but I guess maybe I should have watched it, because maybe we would have gotten some more animated horror movies out of that. Who knows? Who knows? Let me see. Count Dracula asks, Doc, would you ever start doing standard Let's Plays that aren't live streams? I've done that every now and then. You know, I finally played through all of that Halloween fan game. So, you know, I'll do that every now and then. I want to do that more often. It's just hard to find the time, because at the same time, you know, logically, you know, a Let's Play should be easy, but at the same time, I want to put like a little extra effort editing a Let's Play, and I don't know, it could be a little tricky, so just finding the right time to make it. I was planning last year to do a Let's Play of the Grinch video game again, and finally just do a full playthrough in one go, but just couldn't find the right timing for it. Wish I did do that. I'm gonna try to do that this year while still having time to do other stuff for Christmas time, because I definitely wanted to do that, but I just couldn't make it work. I had fun, like, recording what I did of it. I started recording it, but it just didn't work out. Didn't work out. Funny Clown says, the Grinch PS1 game, that one was weird. Well, specifically the Dreamcast version. I'm a Dreamcast guy when it comes to that era, so I think the Dreamcast version is the best version of that game. It's got the best graphics, but then again, I mean, it's not going to have great graphics in general, even by Dreamcast standards. But it's at least, I don't know, the most technically polished and competent out of all the options of those different Grinch game releases. Jared Jam says, Doc, please read my comment about Christina Ricci. Okay, let me scroll up here. Jared says, Christina Ricci in the movie Sleepy Hollow is my dream girl. I almost met her at Comic-Con this year, but sadly she canceled. Oh yeah, I've been seeing her doing the rounds at different horror conventions. I think she went to a horror convention near me, Spooky Empire, recently. Hopefully you get another shot, and maybe you might be able to shoot your shot. You know, I'm rooting for you. I don't know who Christina Ricci is with right now, but maybe, I don't know, maybe she'll leave that guy and get with a champ like Jared. You know, fingers crossed. Sammy T asks, what are your thoughts on the Quarry game? Well, I did do some live streams of the Quarry game, so you could check those out. But, you know, it was a little disappointing compared to Until Dawn, because it didn't feel like like the interludes that happen in the game just didn't really have that same interactive quality. Like in Until Dawn, like a guy interviews you and you get to make like these different choices that are interesting. But in The Quarry, you get interviewed by like a fortune teller played by that lady from Twin Peaks and Seinfeld. And all that happens is she just scolds you if you don't collect tarot cards randomly hidden in the levels. I don't know, that wasn't so great. So that was a little disappointing. And also, it's one of those things where it feels like your ending ultimately comes down to how things play out in like the last 15 minutes of the game, where it's like you could be doing really well the whole game, but then you miss a quick time event or whatever, and then you get like the worst endings possible where everybody dies. And you know, I wasn't so into that. It just feels like an artificial way to make a game, like make you replay a game, make you like, you know, like, try to make the game longer than it is, like, where it's like, okay, now I gotta see what happens if I do this. Where it's like, you can't, like, it's just intended to be a thing where you're not satisfied with your first playthrough, so you have to play it again. Like, I don't know, just wasn't into that aspect. So I got a really shitty ending. You can see for yourself. Just left me feeling really cold, like I just watched Dial of Destiny. Let me see. Michael Diaz asks, Doc, are you growing tired of Hollywood's nostalgia phase we're currently in? Well, you know, I feel like we're getting a lot more just, you know, big new movies. They still milk nostalgia, but I feel like it's getting supplemented by, like, just stuff that's, like, auteur-driven, like, just, like, great movies. I feel like this has been a really good movie year in general. You still will see, like, even something like Barbie, which is a huge hit, is still milking nostalgia for lots of women who played with Barbies and stuff. But even at the same time, you have Oppenheimer, which is this big, like, labor of love, like, movie about the guy who made the atomic bomb by Christopher Nolan. He could make anything, and he makes this, and it's, like, looks really fucking cool. You have stuff like that, and, I feel like there's a good mix of new stuff and stuff that's kind of just, retreading familiar ground. It's... I don't know. It's one of those things where there's just so much there's so much entertainment out there now. You're just kind of spoiled for choice, I feel like. It feels like there's maybe too much new stuff out there to keep track of, too. I don't know. I feel like for a while it used to be like, okay, all the movies coming out are just like Marvel movies or something based on, like, a toy or a cartoon show, something like that, or superhero stuff, or, it's funny, like, something like Dial of Destiny would have been, like, maybe the big movie that came out a decade ago, like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was, if it had come out just, like, a few years after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. But I feel like people aren't as swayed by pure nostalgia now, like they used to, which is a good thing, where they're a little bit more interested in just seeing something like you never really saw on the screen. I don't know. I'm a little bit more optimistic about how things are right now. All right, now let's cut to another set of questions from the Patreon. All right.
Serpenthrop asked, people insist that the Scooby Gang had one ghost left at the end of 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, since they didn't catch one in the pilot. However, there was no indication that the ghost ship ghosts were ever in the chest prior to their capture by the gang, and we're even told that they only died 50 years before. Doesn't that imply that they were too short, but nabbed some bonus ghosts? I think the real 13 ghosts were the friends they made along the way. Serpenthrop asked, given that you're self-employed, what's your reason for not living full-time at Castle Wolfula? I rent it out as an Airbnb the rest of the year. Very lucrative location. June just happens to be a dead month.
All right. Okay. Sometimes there's like usernames where it's just hard to really tell how you're supposed to pronounce them, but I'm gonna try my best here. Yumanio1 as a super chat, thank you. Doc, what franchise would you like to see rebooted? I'd like to see Nightmare on Elm Street come back. I'd be down for the requel approach. I'd love to see Robert Englund come back as Freddy Krueger one last time, at least one last time. I think, I've been saying this so many times, I think there's plenty of different ways you could bring him back. You just need to use makeup, like mixture of makeup, the right lighting, body double for certain shots, so you can have a Freddy that's much more nimble. But, I just want to see Robert Englund come back as Freddy. I don't have any real interest in seeing any other horror franchise get rebooted in any way, but Nightmare on Elm Street, I just want to see fucking the real Freddy Krueger to me again. Like, I want that so much, and I was talking about nostalgia stuff, but, man, I just want to see Freddy Krueger again. Like, I just want, like, one last chance to see him again. It's been 20 years since we really saw Freddy Krueger on film that wasn't like Jackie Earle Haley or whatever. Like, I want to see Freddy Krueger again. It's not fair. I want to see him again. Oh, anyway. All right. Magteeth Matt asks, I would like to see a video on your physical media collection. I've been meaning to make a video like that for a while. But, I don't know, it's just one of those things where, I guess the interesting way to approach it is to just kind of basically just pan across the shelves, I suppose, and just single out interesting releases of movies I own and movies I really love. because I do have a pretty good physical media collection, but at the same time, I feel like it's not going to be. It's going to be a little disappointing compared to some physical media collections you see online in YouTube videos and stuff, where they essentially have like a fucking giant retail space in their basement where it looks like a fucking video store, like sort of thing, where it's very intimidating. I wish I had a collection that extensive, but essentially I only buy movies I intend to actually watch. So I'm not just like collecting whatever. I'm not like buying whatever movies. It's got to be something I'm actually interested in watching. So keep it lean and mean. Definitely a movie collection, but I just, I guess my one, like, I don't know, hesitancy with like that kind of video is it's just not gonna look, I don't know, impressive. Like, it's like 3 big shelves. Well, okay, it's actually like 6 big shelves of movies and TV shows on DVD. A lot of movies and stuff, but it's just, it's not gonna be like fucking insane, It's not gonna be one of those gigantic collections where you're like, whoa. But, it's, I guess it's decent. I guess just focus on what I have and just like highlight some stuff. So yeah, I've definitely been meaning to. Try to do it soon. Alright, let's see. Let me see. Funny Clown says, I love Monsters, Inc. so much. I agree with you. Love that myself. Wasn't so into University, and I haven't seen the Disney Plus show, but yeah, that first Monsters Incorporated was great. Not JPEG asks, The Burning or Slaughter High? I gotta go with The Burning, just because it has young Jason Alexander in it, back when he had hair. Like, that's the main thing. I guess the unfortunate thing with The Burning is that it was produced by the Weinsteins, but, they produce a lot of horror movies. It's whatever, but, it's nice to see Jason Alexander with hair before it all came crashing down, before it all fell apart. Just to see some hope that maybe he could be a leading man. Maybe he could be, I don't know, something more than just the goofy best friend on Seinfeld. And, didn't work out, but it's just nice to see, I guess, that era of his life on film. Alright, let me see, Special K says, Hollywood is done. Enjoy your collections. Okay, alright. I did hear, like, there's apparently some rumors that Disney is done releasing physical media in Australia, and I guess possibly in the US, I guess worldwide. I don't know how true that is, or at least they're done releasing 4K releases of physical media. I'm not sure how true that is. I feel like it would be a dumb decision, but, it is feeling like physical media is becoming increasingly niche, where, you have to, like, rely on boutique labels like fucking Shout Factory or whatever to release some movies. Some movies have just never gotten released on DVD or Blu-ray until, like, these other companies have to license the rights. Like, I guess, I don't know. I'm hoping physical media is here to stay for a while longer. Or, I'm also hoping that it's not going to be a thing where it becomes increasingly more niche, where you got to pay like fucking $60 for like a deluxe release of some random movie now. Like, oh god, that would suck. I mean, you kind of already have to do that, but it would suck if you have to, like, your only option is just boutique label releases that are just super expensive. Because it's nice right now where I can, like, find, I could find Beverly Hills Cop, the Beverly Hills Cop trilogy on DVD in a bargain bin at Walmart for $5 and just, have that, like, just, have, like, all 3 movies on DVD just right away. It would suck if, like, that just stops becoming an option. My only option is, if I wanted Beverly Hills Cop, for example, I have to buy the $70 Shout Factory collection of them on 4K or whatever. That would kind of suck. It would suck to have, like, more options. Yeah. But yeah, I still support physical media. Every now and then, I'll go to my local Best Buy, the one Best Buy that actually has Blu-rays and DVDs still, and pick up some new releases, or I'll go to Barnes and Noble. I've been going to Barnes and Noble a lot this month for their Criterion sale, picking up movies. So yeah, I'm a big physical media guy still. And it's actually funny. For a while, I wasn't. I kind of stopped, and then I just kind of got tired of streaming and just was like, I'd rather just own my favorite movies. I don't want to have to rely on Netflix or fucking Max or whatever. I don't want to have to rely on those options. So it's nice to not have to worry about something disappearing. Like I have my bootleg copy of the Star Wars trilogy on, like, just the despecialized version of the Star Wars trilogy. I got that copy on hand. I don't have to worry about that disappearing. So stuff like that is nice. All right. Funny Clown asks, best Scooby-Doo game. One that's near and dear to my heart is one I kind of started getting into more recently. Is the Genesis version of Scooby-Doo Mystery. If you haven't played it, it's essentially what if LucasArts made a point-and-click adventure game based on Scooby-Doo. It's not an actual LucasArts point-and-click game, but it feels like it. It basically feels like Maniac Mansion, which is just a really cool approach to Scooby-Doo, the Scooby-Doo franchise in a video game. I highly recommend playing it if you haven't, because I feel like it's the best, execution of Scooby-Doo in a video game, because it feels like you're playing an episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Like, the animation of the game, the visuals of the game, it looks like basically a pixelized version of a Scooby-Doo episode, and their original stories, too. You get two, different mysteries. One in, a snowy lodge setting, and one in a carnival setting. The only issue with the game I have is it has this super hard bumper car minigame that I've never managed to actually beat in the carnival story. I've tried it so many times, but I can't fucking beat that thing. It sucks. Gavin Elrod asks, have you watched Clone High? I watched the first season, and I watched some of the new HBO Max season. I wasn't so into that new one. Definitely felt very different from the original one. Aesthetically, it looked pretty close to the original one, but it definitely just felt like a totally different tone and style. But I don't know, I got into Clone High late, because I saw they were rebooting it, so I was like, I'll finally check out this Clone High series I've been hearing about for years, seeing, in memes and stuff. And, I felt like the original series has, its moments, but it feels just, I don't know, I guess, I don't know, when it, breaks into fucking parodies of Dawson's Creek, I don't know, it just kind of falls flat for me, and it also just felt like it mostly didn't really take advantage of its premise. What if these historical figures were cloned? Because it feels like the situations they get into are just generic parodies of high school drama situations, so I wasn't into that. But it has some funny moments with characters, though. But the characters aren't really like their historical counterparts, and they don't really have any stories related to their historical counterparts. It just feels like, I don't know, something that was never really actually realized, probably the way it should have been. But it has some funny moments, which is why it has so many memes, I guess. Alright, let me see. Okay, I got another super chat from Ricky. If Swamp Thing gets a horror film in the new DC universe, who would be a good director for it? Horror film directors, I mean. I think Sam Raimi could do it. Yeah, I would definitely appreciate them going much more for a horror vibe with a Swamp Thing thing. I liked the Alan Moore run in the 80s where it was much more fantastical, but I really dug the original run in the 70s where it kind of just felt like pure horror superhero kind of thing, where it's he's fighting these freakish monsters and shit, that kind of thing. Let me think. I guess, James Wan is an option, but I feel like he's probably too obvious, especially since he's doing those Aquaman movies. I don't know if he wants to do another DC thing. Trying to think, who would be like a good, Sam Raimi's a good option. I feel like that would be something where he can really shine, where he can maybe have more creative control. Then again, James Gunn would also be a good option for like a Swamp Thing director, because he's done some horror stuff in the past. His Dawn of the Dead, writing the Dawn of the Dead remake, and of course Sliver. No, not Sliver. That's a fucking 90s Sharon Stone movie. Slither, that's a different thing. Slither, same thing. Sliver's about the fucking apartment owner who has like security cameras all over the place and spying on people. At least I think that's Sliver. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, though, so there's different options, but I can't think of like a great horror director right now where he could really, where he could really shine with Swamp Thing. Like, it's hard to imagine anyone but Wes Craven doing something like that. It would have been cool if Wes Craven was still with us, so he could do a new Swamp Thing, something a little crazier, but, oh well. JC says, Doc, you missed my super chat. Oh no! Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Oh no, dear. I'm scrolling. Okay, now I see it. Okay. JC has a super chat. Doc, you see the new Saw 10 trailer today? Well, here's the thing. I've seen all the Saw movies except for Book of Saw, Spiral. I've seen all of them, but I'm not really into the Saw movies. I'm not really a fan of them. Don't really, I don't, particularly like them, I guess. So, I haven't seen the new Saw trailer. I don't know if I'll see the new Saw movie. I'm kind of surprised they're making a new one so soon after Spiral. I don't really know how Spiral turned out. I didn't end up seeing it. I was kind of interested in considering it, but I kind of just saw sort of mixed feelings about it, so I just ended up not being in a rush to check it out. I don't know if I'll end up seeing it, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on Saw 10, unfortunately. Just not really into the franchise. I rewatched all the movies before, before Jigsaw this year. And, like, the original saga before Saw the final chapter, Saw 3D, and I was just like, wow, this series is a bit of a mess, It's a bit of a mess. And the sequels kind of get worse and worse. Like, I feel like the first 4 are okay. The first 4 are pretty solid horror movies. But then once you get to 5, I feel like 5 was the worst one I've ever seen. And once you get to 5, just, things go bad. And unfortunately after 5, there's like 3 more. Oh wait, there's 2 more after that. And then there's Jigsaw and then Spiral. And now there's a 10th one. I don't know. I don't know. I just can't muster up the enthusiasm to check out a 10th Saw movie, unfortunately. But, hopefully, fans of Saw, they appreciate it, at least. Hopefully. I don't know. Because it's not me. It's definitely not me. You don't want to hear my thoughts on Saw. It's like, I didn't share my thoughts on Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not really into Five Nights at Freddy's, so I probably won't have... I'm still going to watch the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and review it when it comes out, but I'm not making videos about the trailers or anything like that just because I'm not really that interested in it. All right, let's cut to some more Patreon questions, and I'll get back to you live.
Serpenthrop asked, you said in your live stream that the new Friday the 13th show can't use anything from subsequent movies. However, if the first season is a hit, do you think it's likely Sean S. Cunningham will smell money and come on board? It wouldn't just be down to Sean S. Cunningham. Since the Friday the 13th TV series is being handled by Universal, they'd need to get Warner Brothers and or Paramount on board too to bring in anything introduced in the sequels like a hockey mask Jason. It's a complicated situation and part of why they're doing this show as either a prequel to or reimagining of the first movie, to avoid things getting complicated and making a TV series doesn't encroach on any attempts from other parties to get a new Friday the 13th movie off the ground in the future. They're playing with what they have the rights to while not souring any potential deals if Sean S. Cunningham decides to play ball.
Just so you guys know, it's 100 degrees right now and I have the AC off, so that little break was so great to enjoy a nice Fresca. Oh, man. Oh, it's so fucking hot. Oh, dear Lord. So, usually these streams have been like 3 hours. I might cut it short at 2 hours or 2.5 hours. We'll see. Because it's wearing me down this summer heat. But let's continue with the questions for now. And, good night to Katie. Good night to you. All right, Neon Warlock says Jordan Peele would do Swamp Thing good too. Well, I don't know. I don't know if he'd want to do like a superhero kind of thing. It seems like a guy who's more of an auteur sort of guy. So I don't know if he'd be into like something that's an adaptation of something else. He was a producer of the Candyman requel, remake, or whatever, which I didn't end up seeing, unfortunately. I'll see it eventually, I guess. Though then again, I saw, mixed things about that. But, he doesn't seem like a guy who does that kind of film. It would be interesting to see him do that kind of film, though, but, it doesn't seem like his sort of thing. Michael says, I live in Texas, Doc, so I can relate. Yeah, it's fucking hot. It's also humid. It's horrible. Actually, can I see my... Oh, man, yeah, it's so fucking hot. Oh, dear Lord. Part of me is like, maybe I should turn on the AC. Just, like, fucking have, like, a background hum, but I can't do that. Engineer for the Future asks, will the Five Nights at Freddy's review go on the Gulag channel? Probably not, because I think that movie's still R-rated, right? It's still like a adult... I mean, I guess Five Nights at Freddy's is marketed heavily towards children for some reason. But it's still, I don't know, my perspective, still something for, like, adults. It's, like, pretty hardcore. Like, it's sort of crazy to me, actually, how heavily marketed Five Nights at Freddy's is to kids, just because, back in the day, like, kids' horror stuff was, like, pretty tame. Like, stuff like Goosebumps and shit. Now you're seeing, like, these, like, horrifying, like, animatronic monstrosities, like, jumping out at you and shit, like, with dark backstories about child murder. It's fucking crazy. Like, and that's actually just, I don't know, that's something that has surprised me. There isn't, like, I haven't seen, like, a backlash to Five Nights at Freddy's by parent groups or whatever, like you see for shit, like, maybe, like, Harry Potter or whatever. Like, it's surprising. I guess because, I don't know, because you'll see, like, at Scholastic book fairs, Five Nights at Freddy's, like, chapter books for kids and stuff. It's wild to me, I'm surprised they were able to, like, pull that off. But they did it. I'm sure lots of kids are going to be seeing that Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Okay, Engineer says it's PG-13. All right. I guess I thought it was R. But yeah, I don't know. It'll still be here, it'll still be here. Just, I don't know. To me, it's not like a kid series. I don't know. It's, I don't know, stuff on the Gulag channel, stuff like Scooby-Doo or... stuff like Scooby-Doo or Beetlejuice, stuff like that. I don't know, stuff that's horror but more lighthearted, where it's not really, I don't know, nothing that's actually horror, necessarily. Or I guess, I don't know, something like Goosebumps. Well, and then again, even with, like, with Goosebumps, the Goosebumps movies are as non-horror as you could possibly imagine. I guess that's another thing, though, that could be covered in the future on the Gulag channel. Just need to, like, get into the rhythm of releasing goulash videos more frequently, but I know the Disney Plus is making their own Goosebumps show. They're teasing it so far. I don't know if the trailer has come out. They've shown, like, little glimpses of it. I'm hoping for the best with it, because I'm a little... I'm a little, I don't know, hesitant about a Disney-driven Goosebumps series. I was at least somewhat interested with a Netflix one, because originally it was slated for Netflix, but I guess, I don't know, Disney had a better offer or whatever. Hopefully it's, like, still dark and scary. I don't know. I guess we'll see, because I'm afraid it'll end up having the tone of the Sony movies, where, I don't know. Sony movies were a real letdown. I know a lot of people like those Sony movies, but it was just too much like Jumanji, and it just didn't really use the actual Goosebumps license all that well. The only monster from Goosebumps that was pretty well realized in those movies was Slappy the Dummy. Everything else was like all the most iconic monsters were just like, at least in the first movie I saw, were just like extras. Like the Haunted Mask, just like they put like a little girl in a crappy looking mask and just had her in the background. Like all the major monsters were the more generic ones, like a giant mantis or gnomes or other bullshit, or like the abominable snowman. Like, I don't know. It was a little bit of a letdown. Yeah. I'm a little afraid with what Disney might do. Hopefully it's dark, because that Haunted Mansion movie was not dark like I was hoping. It ended up being really lighthearted in the end. It started out a little dark and spooky and atmospheric, and then it just ended up being like, just as goofy as the fucking Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion. Like, in some ways, even goofier than the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion, which was a real letdown. Because Haunted Mansion, the ride, it has some goofiness. It has, like, some tongue-in-cheek comedy, but it's overall a pretty dark ride with a pretty dark atmosphere. So, I don't know. And Jamie Lee Curtis was so goofy in that. Like, Jennifer Tilly was just such a better Madame Leota. So much better of a Madame Leota than Jamie Lee Curtis. I was really let down by Jamie Lee Curtis's Madame Leota, because they hold off on Leota for a whole hour of the movie, and then they show her, and she looks like shit. Like, the effect is just super shitty. And then they show Madame Leota when she's a human, and she wears the goofiest costume imaginable. And, oh, God, and the finale of the movie was just so horrible. It's like, oh, God. Yeah, just a real mixed bag of a fucking Haunted Mansion movie. Ebel says the Muppets Haunted Mansion was darker than the Haunted Mansion movie. I don't know about that. I could barely finish the Muppet Haunted Mansion movie, mostly just because the new Kermit voice fucking sucks. I just couldn't get through it. Like, just hearing that new Kermit voice, just, like, it's one of those things where, I don't know, when I heard they recast Kermit, it's like, hopefully they at least got, like, a guy who can do a Kermit voice, but apparently they didn't. Like, they're just like, you can do whatever voice you want, bro. It doesn't have to sound like Kermit at all. Just, I don't know, ugh. Yeah, God. Yeah, Disney, I don't know. They're really not brimming with credibility nowadays. It seems like they just don't fucking care about anything. Like, they'll just, like, let things just just let quality just fucking really slide. Like, just, I don't know. They just, it's so disappointing. Like, yeah, it's so disappointing. Like, just hearing Disney's making anything, like, any version of something you like, it's just, yeah, it's not really the quality company. They're not really into quality products. They can really take or leave quality. It's a little sad, but oh well. Let me see. Sammy T says, what are your thoughts on the Spider-Man Lotus fan film? I don't know. I heard, like, some controversy surrounding it, but I never saw it. So I can't really say it. I guess some clips I saw of it look kind of neat, but never saw it. Never saw it, so I can't say anything. Let me see. Engineer for the Future asks, will the Gulag channel review the Haunted Mansion? That's been a plan for a while, to review both the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion and the new one. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be a big thing. And that'll also be fun just going into, like, the history of the ride itself. And, you know, I live, like, 20 minutes away from the ride, so I guess, like, record some stuff at the park. So that'll be fun. So keep an eye out for some Haunted Mansion content in the future on the Gulag channel. It's been planned for a while. I was hoping to have it timed out where it could actually, you know, that was the plan this year for to time it out for the actual, you know, when the movie came out. But it just ended up not turning out that way. Just Universal Horror Month took priority over everything else. But, you know, it was worth it. You know, it was worth it, I think. Hopefully. All right, gonna cut to some shout-outs now. And then I'll get back to you guys live.
Subscribe to 3 Trailers Down, a horror channel that makes in-depth reviews about films like Trick or Treat and Mandy, and even delves into how these movies were made. Watch their videos today. Subscribe to the Steamlord on YouTube today, a prolific YouTube poop creator who has a new Simpsons Treehouse of Horror collab coming soon, guest starring me. So subscribe and stay tuned for it. Next, I'm gonna have to suggest that you check out Rockland Graves Productions, an up-and-comer in the realm of horror YouTube who also produces some great music. I gotta give a shout out to the Six Squad, a YouTube channel with a unique style and a wide range of horror content, including reviews, music, and so much more. Check out Rooster Montgomery's YouTube channel for his ultimate playlist, compiling every video about pop culture staples like Ghostbusters and the Blues Brothers. Listen to and follow the Dead and Married podcast, a married couples podcast dedicated to horror, available wherever you listen to podcasts. They're still on hiatus, going through very difficult times, but they'll be returning soon. So show your support by listening to their back catalog if you haven't yet.
So that Dead and Married podcast plug was recorded a couple weeks ago, but they've since come back. I just want to make that clear. They've since come back with their 100th episode recording. So check out that podcast. It goes into why they've been gone, the sad series of events they've been dealing with, and it really touched my heart listening to the tragedy they've faced and how they've handled it as a family. So if you're interested in a horror podcast, check that out. Also, you know, listen to their newest episode and show your support if you can. All right, let's see. Mickey says, ironically, Mickey says, Disney used to do some dark and edgy stuff in its prime, despite it being family-oriented. How the mighty has indeed fallen. Well, it's kind of funny. It used to be like, Disney stuff would always just have some really fucked up, scary shit in the mix. Like, you could watch, like, just a random Disney movie and it'd have, like, the scariest thing you've ever seen. And I feel like they've stopped doing that in recent years. They've stopped having, like, the nightmare fuel moments. Now it's all just purely safe shit. Like, you're not gonna see anything fucking scary and Tangled or Frozen or whatever. It's kind of sad. Like, I don't know. You bring back the scary stuff. You know, kids want some scary stuff. You know, kids like scary stuff. And it prepares kids for, eventually watching horror movies in the future. You know, something like Scooby-Doo. Like, it's great preparation for watching a horror movie later because, well, at least, the classic Scooby-Doo, the classic era of Scooby-Doo, or, some of the scarier incarnations of Scooby-Doo where you could have something like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island where it's very scary and, the atmosphere is scary and stuff, the zombies are scary, but at the end of the day, you have the Scooby Gang making you feel safe, so as a child watching it, nothing bad will happen to Scooby-Doo and the gang. They're gonna be fine. They're gonna be fucking fine. So you'll have that safety net where you can watch something like that's on the surface should be really scary, but everything's gonna turn out okay in the end. Like, stuff like that. But now they don't even bother to do that kind of shit. Oh well. Oh well. Neon Warlock says, Doc, do you put the links to your shoutouts in the description? Yes, if you check the description, the shoutouts are linked right there. So check them out. Dead and Married is there. Six Squad's there. 3 Trailers Down is there. Everybody I mention in the shoutouts are there. Yes. Also, the shoutouts are going to be posted tomorrow on Sunday on my social media accounts too. Comprehensive. If you want to support the channel, you get some shoutouts. The highest tier. $10 a month. gets you a shout out, if you're interested. Anyway. Okay. Trey asks, hey Doc, if they were to remake Chucky again, what would you like to see them do / focus more on? I guess, I don't know, I'd be interested in them kind of just doing something that's a very faithful remake of the original movie, but kind of polish the script up, like kind of get rid of some of the clunky aspects, maybe expand on other aspects of the original script, and, give us, the original voice of Chucky, make it basically essentially something, a remake that can essentially sort of stand side by side with the original movies, where this is just like an alternate version of that first movie that's kind of better, like better puppetry and everything, like just basically try to, I guess, essentially make a better version of the original movie. I guess that would be an interesting idea, I don't know. Or just an expanded version of the original movie that kind of, I maybe take some aspects of what we know about Chucky from the sequels and stuff and maybe integrates that into the story. But maybe, I don't know, ultimately make it true to the original films. I guess essentially the anti-version of the 2019 Child's Play film. Alright, let's see. Let's find another question. Isaac B. asks, wouldn't it have made more sense to have hired Guillermo del Toro to make a gothic horror version of the Haunted Mansion instead of making it a comedy both times? That was what was essentially supposed to happen with the new Haunted Mansion. They were going to get del Toro, which is why I think you suggested that, but for whatever reason, it just kind of fell apart. And it's like such a disappointment because it's clear that it's like a labor of love kind of thing. Like, he fucking loves that ride. Wants to make, like, a dark, atmospheric, gothic sort of horror movie based around it. But he just didn't get the chance. And it's kind of weird. I don't know. It's sort of weird. Like, Pirates of the Caribbean is treated with a pretty high level of respect, where it can be something that's mostly serious and has, like, some dark moments, and has, like, the comedy relief stuff with the Jack Sparrow character and shit, but it's ultimately a straight, like, action-adventure movie with some horror elements to it. But, like, it's so, I don't know, it's so sad that Haunted Mansion can't, like, be on that same level, where it has to have just as much comedy, or even more comedy than the horror stuff. It can't just be, like, something that's just straight scary. Like, it's just, like, more of a scary film that maybe has some comedy relief in it. Instead, it has to be, like, a full-on horror comedy. And I don't know, it's sad because, like, the teaser trailers for the new movie made it seem like it was going to be scarier and darker than it ends up turning out to be. It's very much, I don't know, I was very misled by the trailers. Like, it's a very cartoony horror movie. I don't know, it was definitely, I don't know. I don't know, a little bit let down. Six Squad says horror is a comedy. Yeah, technically horror has, some of the calling cards of comedy. You're building up suspense, you're building up to a punchline, that kind of thing. Hopefully you essentially pay off on the joke you're telling or the scare you're making happen, and the fact that it's not a real scary situation you're in, you can kind of laugh it off like comedy, that kind of thing. But I was just disappointed that it has, like, the new movie just has, like, such a, I don't know, a surprisingly lighthearted tone to it, where it's like, I don't know, whatever, though. I've been talking a lot about Haunted Mansion. I was considering making a video about it, but I was just like, I don't know, guess we'll see. I feel like it's too late, though. It's too late. I don't know. It's so funny I made a fucking video about that Flash movie, though. It's just like, I just really want to talk about Michael Keaton Batman. I just want to do that. And I have to talk about Ezra Miller, too, unfortunately. It sucks. Oh, God. Alright, let's see. Guardian Beard... Okay, I'm just gonna say Guardian Beard asks, have you seen Night of the Demons 2 is getting a Blu-ray release. I wasn't aware it wasn't out on Blu-ray already, but I'm not sure if I have the first movie on Blu-ray. I would hope that, I don't know, I would hope that the original trilogy, and I guess also the remake, all 4 movies get like a full box set. That'd be something I'm interested in. I'm not so into having to like buy all the movies individually nowadays. It kind of sucks. We got some really cool box sets, like with the Friday the 13th box set a couple years ago. Now you don't really see box sets as much. Now you're seeing like Scream Factory releasing all the Child's Play movies individually on 4K instead of like just giving us a box set option. Like, so then you have to spend so much more money than if it was a box set. You have to spend like fucking $200 or whatever on all these movies. Same thing with their recent Halloween releases. Like, well, I guess technically they did release 6 through 8 as a box set because that was the only way they could license the rights. They couldn't release them individually. So I guess it was nice to have just a random Halloween 6 through 8 box set in 4K. Would have been cool to have like a full box set, but no, I'm really missing box sets though. I'm really hating, I guess, the money grubbing of making you have to buy all these things separately. Especially, I don't know, it also sucks just because their new Child's Play releases are super expensive, but you can buy the whole franchise besides the remake in one box set for $20 on DVD or Blu-ray. So it's like, but if you want them in 4K, you gotta spend like $30 a pop for each movie. Oh boy. Or maybe it's more like 35 or $40. Like, just super expensive. I hate that aspect. Just too much. Just costs too much. Alright, well, Anthony, unfortunately, I already answered earlier in the Q&A that question, what I think the Halloween franchise will go, where it will go after Halloween ends. I'm sorry, but hopefully you'll re-listen to that. I just talked about it for so long, though, I just can't talk about it again. Sorry to disappoint you, though. Alright, let me see. Okay, Engineer for the Future says all 3 Night of the Demons films are getting released on 4K. Well, that's cool, but yeah, I would definitely hope to have a box set of that, because that's just, I don't know, that's more convenient, and it's often a cheaper option just to have them bundled all together. So I'm hoping they get the box set option eventually. I haven't seen Night of the Demons 3. It looked a little bit more low rent compared to the first 2 movies, but I'd like to finally see it eventually. I don't know if I want the 4K version, though, necessarily. Alright, let me see. Silent X asked, Dracula or Nosferatu? Which do you like more? Actually, okay, if you're asking me which movie I liked more, the original Nosferatu or the original 1931 Dracula by Todd Browning, not the Spanish version, I'd have to go with Nosferatu, just because it's just such a fucking amazingly shot movie, just with so many iconic shots, and the design of Count Orlok is also iconic. It's just this really great look. Like, it's just as iconic as Bela Lugosi's Dracula, but it isn't just what Bela Lugosi looks like as a guy, you know, it's like just this, they had to like they had to do makeup on Maxwell Shrek to make him look like that. So, you know, I'd have to go with Nosferatu, but, you know, Bela Lugosi's great as Dracula. It's just, you know, the rest of the movie, just not as cool looking as Nosferatu, though. So yeah, Nosferatu, have to go with that. Alright, let me see. Mr. Video asks, have you seen My Adventures with Superman? I saw the first episode of it, and it seems pretty interesting, seems pretty, cool. I don't know, I'm just happy a new version of Superman, a new Superman thing, seems to be getting a lot of attention online. A lot of people are into it, though it seems like mostly people are into it for the petite tomboy Lois Lane they have on the show. So I guess I don't know. I guess that's something. If it gets people to pay attention to Superman and something, I guess that's cool. And I feel like it's a nice idea of maybe the new direction DC and Warner Brothers are taking Superman in when we get to Superman Legacy. I'm looking forward to that film, that's for sure. I'm looking forward to it because it sounds like James Gunn is being influenced by... Oh, whoop, hit my mic. Is being influenced by All-Star Superman, my favorite Superman story by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. So, I'm looking forward to what the future holds for Superman. Something a little bit more lighthearted and fun, like, not necessarily a version of Superman where Jimmy Olsen gets executed by Russian terrorists or whatever, like in the first 10 minutes of a movie. Looking forward to something where it's a little bit more, looking to have a good time with Superman, that kind of thing, And I got that sense from the new TV series, but I don't know if I'm gonna catch additional episodes, but maybe I will. I don't know. I just haven't, I don't know, from what I've seen, it just feels like they're just setting things up with this new Superman cartoon. And, I don't know, I'll wait and see if they, give us some cool shit. Because it looked like they have Livewire in it early on, and seems like they're setting up Lex Luthor, but, I need some stronger villains to go off of, though. I don't know. Alright, let's see. Trey asks, what do all of you think the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre game should do if they were to add in single-player modes? Well, I guess it would have to be it would essentially just be like a Resident Evil kind of thing. I know Resident Evil 7 was very influenced by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So they could do something like that. It looks like they could make a single-player mode. It's essentially a stealth game where you just have to, get through these levels. You could have, some cutscenes, some little bits of story. It wouldn't need to have a long story mode. Just something where maybe they could have some collectibles to encourage you to replay it, but maybe something that just lasts, 3 or 4 hours, in addition to the multiplayer mode, where you're just kind of sneaking around trying to avoid Leatherface grabbing you and killing you, that kind of thing, something like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, essentially the typical survival horror approach. I think that could definitely work, but that takes a certain level of effort and game design that, these asymmetrical multiplayer games aren't necessarily that interested in. They're more into just, the live service aspect of the game and not necessarily into the aspect where you don't necessarily need to interact with other players and stuff. You could just play the game by yourself. They're not that into that, unfortunately. I wish they were, though. I wish they were. Sammyverse asks, have you seen Talk to Me? I was recommended it. I might end up checking it out tomorrow or sometime soon, but I haven't seen the trailer for it. I just heard it had a really crazy concept. So, yeah, I guess I'll try to check it out soon, but I haven't seen it, unfortunately, or even seen the trailer to really give it any take on it. Gavin asks, should they bring back Nuclear Man? No, I don't think they should bring back Nuclear Man in the next Superman movie. If you don't know who Nuclear Man is, he was the villain from Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. Not a great villain. Essentially, he was I don't know, just a really shitty version of Brainiac. But basically an evil Superman that has had a sun symbol on his chest and was just kind of dumb and just dumb and pure evil and was just focused on beating the shit out of Superman, I think, or something. I don't know. I've only seen Quest for Peace once, and I barely remember anything that happens in it. So, yeah, I don't know if they need to bring back bring back Nuclear Man. If anything, they need to bring back Richard Pryor. Now, that's the guy they really need to bring back. All right, now let's have some more shout-outs, then I'll get back to you guys.
Subscribe and follow the Podmortem podcast for all your horror listening needs. They do weekly discussions of horror films, and their most recent episode covers Return of the Living Dead. Follow Marshmania, an Instagram page featuring cosplays of horror icons like Jason and Michael Myers. Follow Allison Gray's Instagram page, Creator for Hire, to check out their lovely art. They also do commissions for $5 to $10, and you should also follow them at Twitter at Creator for Hire. Follow the Shape of Evil page on Instagram for horror cosplays and all things Halloween franchise. Follow Trevor Seance66 on Instagram to witness some fantastic horror memorabilia and also spiders if you're braver than I. Follow Scott Topic on Instagram as well if you want to check out some kick-ass horror memorabilia, including customized Michael Myers masks. Follow Trevirus06 on Instagram. He's the guitarist and vocalist for the death metal band Carnotaurus. Give his music a listen to.
All right, I'm back. Okay. Michael says they actually brought Nuclear Man back in the comics very recently. Okay, all right. Hopefully they did him justice. That's kind of actually a funny thing I've noticed with DC Comics recently. They've been bringing in, like, lots of obscure villains and characters into the mainstream continuity that weren't there before. Like, I remember, there was that Batman, the animated series tie-in game from the early 2000s, Batman Rise of Shinzu, I think is what it was called. And it introduced a totally new villain, Shinzu, who was created by Jim Lee and stuff, and they're like, they really focused on the advertising of this new villain. We created a new villain for this game, like a new classic villain, and Shinzu never appeared in anything else. Until very recently, where I guess he appeared as a villain in the new DC Rebirth comics. So, you know, Shinzu is now a mainstream DC super villain, and it only took like 15 years or whatever. So I guess, I don't know, they're getting maybe a little desperate, but I guess it's nice to know Nuclear Man is now an official DC Universe character. It's great to know that. I'm kind of wondering if that also means Richard Pryor will eventually be made canon. Fingers crossed. I'm really hoping we see more Richard Pryor in the DC Universe. I'm hoping they bring him back in, you know, they could definitely deepfake Richard Pryor for Superman Legacy. He's long dead, but, you know, they could make it work. They could make it work. And, you know, if they can't license the rights to Richard Pryor, they could maybe just, like, you know, just have Rodney Dangerfield deep-faked for Superman Legacy. The next best thing. Like, just have some kind of old-school comedian somewhere in the film who's long dead. I don't know. I don't care who. Just gotta have somebody. Or they could get George Carlin, deepfake George Carlin. Just say, I feel like, I don't know, the next best thing to Richard Pryor. I don't know. God. Magteeth Matt asks, are you ever going to review the Hannibal Lecter films? I would definitely be interested in doing that. I don't know. I would at least want to cover the bad ones. I don't know how interested I am in covering the good ones, like Manhunter or Red Dragon, or of course Silence of the Lambs. I don't know how interested I am in covering those. I don't know how much I could possibly say about those classic films, but man, I could have a lot of fun reviewing Hannibal, that's for sure, or Hannibal Rising. So those are definitely options that I've heavily considered. But not necessarily the classic ones. But yeah, Hannibal and Hannibal Rising, though. Yeah, those are definitely some good options for me. Okay, let me see. Okay, Funny Clown asks, what do you think is the darkest Scooby-Doo episode from each series? Oh, from each series? Okay, that's a bit of a tall order. That's like a video worth of content there. That takes a lot of thinking, a lot of research. But from the original series, though, I'll just keep it there. From the original series, I don't know. There's like, I don't know, one that sticks out in my mind is the one with the zombie and the witch, just because it's like got such a dark atmosphere. It's like just the scariest location, just this isolated swampland with skulls and shit like on pikes. Like, it's just really scary looking, and the monsters are pretty creepy. But I don't know, the scariest thing that really stuck out to me in the original Scooby-Doo series, which will hopefully be covered soon in Do Talk to Me, would have to be in the Creeper episode, where the gang finds this random cave in the middle of nowhere, completely unrelated to the Creeper, and it has just this scary hermit living inside the cave that insists on them staying in the cave with him, and when they leave the cave, he's just like saying, "Come back!" It's like so scary. Like, it's so intimidating. Like, it's like some real horror movie shit, and it has nothing to do with the rest of the story. That always just stuck out to me as just, I don't know, weird and creepy. Like just real life horror injected into Scooby-Doo, where they're like, I don't know, they're after just this, like, essentially this guy who looks like Frankenstein monster mixed with the Hulk. They're trying to trap that guy, but they just end up encountering just this fucking scary old man living in a cave. That, you know, it's spooky, you know? It's definitely spooky. That's what I think of, at least. All right, let's see. Let me see. Okay, and Six Squad says, and a pup named Scooby-Doo? I don't know. I guess the scariest episode of Pup Named Scooby-Doo was the one with the headless skateboarder, just because it's revealed at the end that the headless skateboarder was trafficking marijuana. Very scary. Like, yeah, don't do drugs, kids, because you'll end up scaring little kids away from a beach by dressing up as a headless skateboarder. It's like, oh, God. I guess they didn't specify what kind of drugs he was trafficking. But my thought is he's just trafficking marijuana, though. Just like the tamest drug, though. Just villainizing marijuana at the end. Scary. Really scary. Okay, let's see. Let me see. Alright, let's find some more questions. Subnail asks, Insidious the Red Door thoughts? Haven't seen it. I've only seen the first movie, and yeah, the Insidious, Sinister, Conjuring, all those things really blend together, so it's kind of hard to really, I don't know, really separate them. I think Insidious had, I don't know, the guy who played Night Owl, but I think also Conjuring also had the guy who played Night Owl. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I can't separate them. I don't know. It's just hard to really keep track of the different ghost movies. But I haven't watched any of the sequels, so I'm sorry. Can't tell you anything. I guess also a scary episode of the original series is also the clown episode, just because the clown hypnotizes the gang and makes them do things that would easily get them killed, but he could also, like, hypnotize the gang and, like, I don't know, do some messed up shit. And also, it's implied that the clown undressed Daphne when she got hypnotized and put her in a different costume, so he, like, got Daphne naked. Like, I don't know, it's kind of messed up to think about that. That's some Purple Man shit, or whatever. Alright. Let me see. Trade says Manhunter would be a good film to cover for your channel. Hannibal in that movie is also in Manhunt. Yeah, I guess maybe I don't know. I guess like a good approach to a Manhunter video would be to compare Manhunter with Red Dragon, because if you're not familiar, Manhunter was the adaptation of the first entry in the Hannibal Lecter series, but it didn't have Anthony Hopkins playing it didn't have Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter. And eventually they made an adaptation of Silence of the Lambs, the sequel book, which did have Anthony Hopkins. And then later they decided, well, let's remake Manhunter, but use the actual title of the book, Red Dragon, and actually have Anthony Hopkins in it. So, I don't know. They're both good adaptations, but I don't know. They do certain things they do better than the other, so I guess it could be an interesting approach to that. All right, let's find another question. Not JPEG ass. Octavia Spencer's Ma. Buy or rent? Oh my god. Well, I never saw that, but it's so funny. That was back when Blumhouse actually contacted me to do, like, promotions of, like, their movies, but the promotions were always so fucking stupid. They wanted to have, like, I don't know, they wanted to, like, have you play games and shit that tie into the viral marketing of the movies. So they sent, like, they sent, like, a rhinestone recreation of Ma's jean jacket hat to the channel, and they wanted you to play, like, a fucking they wanted you to play quarters, I guess, is something that happens in the movie for a video. Didn't do that at all. Like, just had Goulash just, like, show the hat in, like, an unrelated unboxing video. Just, like, show that stuff. It's just, like, it's just tedious. It's like, how about you just send a ticket and we watch the movie and review it? It's just like, ah. At another point, they sent, like, a tie-in thing for Truth or Dare, another movie I didn't see, which was, like, they wanted you to eat bugs they sent you for, like, viral marketing of the Truth or Dare thing and do, like, a game of that. It's like, this is just so tedious. I'm not doing that. Just, like, well, let me watch the movie. Like, let me talk about it like that. It's just, I don't make those kinds of videos. God. And the one viral marketing tie-in I miss out on, Blumhouse, the last one they did, that they bothered to fucking reach out to me for, was for the Halloween 2018. They were gonna send me a copy of the movie to unbox, but it was also going to include the Michael Myers mask from the movie, that shit. But the email they sent was sent to my spam folder, so I didn't see it. So then I, like, I don't know, responded to the email saying, I missed this email, but, you know, if you could send me something like that in the future, I'd appreciate it. And they were like, okay, well, maybe, and they never did. Oh, man, that sucked. Oh, God. The one thing I actually wanted to get involved in. Damn it. Ah, fuck. Yeah. Could give less of a shit about Ma or fucking Truth or Dare. Yeah. All right, let me see. Let me see. The Six Squad says, what's the stupidest promotion you had to do or didn't do? Well, I mean, definitely, I don't know. I wouldn't say stupid, but it wasn't totally well thought through, the pop bass app that I was involved in. I thought it was a cool idea, and I heavily promoted it, but definitely, I don't know. I probably shouldn't have promoted it as heavily as I did. I feel like it... Oh, well, I almost pulled a plug right there. Definitely feel like it kind of hurt some of my credibility being that heavily attached to this app. That didn't end up lasting very long. It only lasted for a year and a half. I thought it was a cool idea where you could, like, interact with a digital me or digital versions of other YouTubers, but it just didn't quite work out. But I think, I don't know, if I did these streams more frequently, this would essentially be the equivalent of that app, where, you know, I'm interacting with you guys live. That was something I pitched to them that I was hoping they could do, where I could interact with people live. I could have, like, essentially, you know, I could, like, log into the app for an hour and just be, like, answering questions live within that app, but they never implemented anything like that. It was a very simplistic app. Unfortunately. Oh well. And then there's another promotion that could have been cool. Like, a guy reached out to me for this, one of those like plush companies where they basically crowdfund plushes based on YouTubers and stuff. But he reached out to me, but he never got back to me. But I could have had a plush this year, but just never got back to me. He sent me the contract, but I thought he'd, like, break down some other stuff first. I guess maybe I should have just signed the contract and sent it. But then again, I don't know. It would have been a big undertaking, like, promoting that thing and making sure the company actually, you know, makes the plush. I don't know. Maybe they just fucking... Maybe, I don't know. I didn't check in with that company later. Maybe they went under. Maybe that's just what happened. Anyway, Eddie says, Doc, you should cameo in maniacal cinephile Andy's videos. Well, you know, I'm familiar with his videos, but I've never gotten into contact with him. So, if he were to ask me, I would definitely appear in his videos, because I usually, you know, appear in anybody's videos that ask me. Like, you know, I appear in Unwanted House Guest videos. I've appeared in Screaming Soup's videos. Like, I've appeared in Jimmy Champagne. I appeared in one Jimmy Champagne video. You know, if somebody asks me, I'll appear in your video. But, you know, I'm not going to be a guy who's like, hey, can I appear in one of your videos? I'm not going to do that. And I'm also not a guy who does crossover stuff on my channel, actually. I've thought about it, but it's just, I don't know. It just seems like too much of a hassle. But, you know, if I'm asked to do anything, I'll probably do it. All right, let me see, Tristan asks, if you could revive any dormant franchise and have it be remade in your image, what franchise would you choose and why? Man, I don't know. Let me think. I guess I would want Wes Craven to, instead of making New Nightmare based around Freddy Krueger, it's instead based around me. So instead of, like, the cool trench coat Freddy Krueger, you have a cool trench coat version of me. And it's just me, like... I guess I'd still be attacking Heather Langenkamp, but it'd be me instead of Robert Englund. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I'd get a kick out of that over what the movie actually was. I'm coming into the real world and attacking this real movie actress. Ah, yes. What if the horror movie host became real? Oh, God. All right, Mr. Video says, if I ever start my own YouTube channel, I'd love to have you appear or collab in one of my videos. Yeah, sure. Just, you know, ask me, you know? I'll probably say yes. As long as it's, I don't know. Well, okay, it depends. I mean, sometimes I'll have someone ask to do a quote-unquote collaboration, and it's essentially I have to, like, write half of their video for them, and that's never fun. Like, it's like, yeah, I don't do those types of crossover things. If they're just like, hey, you want to have a cameo in the video, or they give me a script, that's always better. If they give me a script that I can read off of, that's also good. They give me something to work with, or if it's like just a little bit of an appearance, I'll usually say yes. But if it's like, hey, can you, like, do half of my work for me? Yeah, it's never appealing to me. Usually decline those. But usually it's just, hey, do you just want to appear in this thing? I'll be like, okay, yeah, all right. Do whatever you want, as long as it's nice and simple and it doesn't take up too much time. I'm a busy man. Alright, Trey asks, have you ever thought about doing convention stuff with the Wolfula persona? I've considered going to, like, a local horror convention called Spooky Empire. You know, just as me, just walking around. That would be fun. Where it's like, okay, this guy's, like, cosplay. I think most people wouldn't know what it is, but it would be cool if someone recognized who I was. You know, that'd be fun. Just haven't gotten around to it, but maybe I'll make sure to try to next chance I get. All right, let me see, okay, I don't have anything to say about, okay, Sammyverse asks, who would you want to make a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie? Oh, who would I want to? Okay, I guess, I don't know. Let me think about that. Trying to think of someone who really, I don't know, a director that really, that I don't know, the only one that comes to mind is Rob Zombie, and, you know, yeah, I just wouldn't necessarily mind him giving it a shot. I mentioned that earlier in the Patreon question segment, but, trying to think of somebody who really likes the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre that I'm also a big fan of. I guess I'm blanking. Like, it's hard to really say. Yeah, I guess that's a little tough. Yeah, I can't. I guess the closest thing is just Rob Zombie. It's like, at least he wants to give it a shot. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I guess, I don't know. I thought the Munsters movie was gonna turn out okay, but then it's like, he loves the Munsters, but you wouldn't necessarily know it looking at the movie. It looks like a cheap porno. So I kind of shudder, like, how Rob Zombie Texas Chainsaw Massacre would turn out when he actually is a huge fan of the thing he's adapting. Oh, God. So, yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like nobody can really do Texas Chainsaw Massacre all that great. You know, it's maybe a one and done kind of thing. It's one of those things where the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is like my favorite horror movie, but as a franchise, it's not really one of my favorites. I don't get a kick out of watching most of the sequels. Only the first two sequels I really enjoy to a certain degree, but yeah, I don't know. It's not like Halloween, where I love the original Halloween, but I also, really enjoy watching most of the sequels. It's not like that. It's like a lot of the sequels are really tough for me to get through. So yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I kind of lost hope of anybody being able to like do a good job with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. All right, now for the final shoutouts. Here we go.
Super Shag 21 wanted me to recommend that you subscribe to his good friend Humor Waffle's Dark Animation channel and check out his latest SpongeBob parody. Sean O'Brien just wanted a regular shout out, so I'd just like to give thanks to Sean for all the help he's given me over the years. Remember that links to all of these folks are in the description. And here's a full list of my shout out tier supporters on Patreon and my YouTube channel memberships. Their support is greatly appreciated and helps the channel to continue to thrive and grow through these many years. It wouldn't be possible without all their help. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
All right. Funny Clown asked, thoughts on the Red Shirt Shaggy trilogy? Yeah, those were pretty, honestly, I don't know. The only one I wasn't super into was the Boo Brothers one, but it was an interesting experimentation with the Scooby-Doo franchise. It's very clear that those three movies were probably supposed to be backdoor pilots for potential new Scooby spin-off shows, where they were gonna, like, test the waters to see which of these Scooby movies were the most popular to get, like, a show where you have, Reluctant Werewolf, where it's basically a horror version of Wacky Races. You have Ghoul School, which was, I think, maybe the most, the most popular of the three, which is like, a girl horror boarding school kind of thing, kind of cutesy, and then you got Boo Brothers, which is like, I guess, just Ghostbusters, but the ghosts are the busters, I guess. I don't know. It was a little weird. But yeah, I definitely appreciated those when those came out. I think why we didn't see, like, a Ghoul School cartoon or whatever happen was, I think essentially Hanna-Barbera got acquired by Turner around that time, and Turner essentially just kind of shut down new Hanna-Barbera stuff for a little while, and just focused on essentially just making money off of the stuff that already existed. So I guess they still made stuff for a bit for Saturday morning slots, essentially, but they definitely shut down, like, they stopped making Scooby-Doo stuff for a little while. They stopped making... They focused Hanna-Barbera more on making new stuff, and all the old catalog stuff was just pretty much just monetized, eventually through Cartoon Network and also through TBS and stuff. So it's probably why we didn't end up seeing, like, new Scooby cartoons based on those movies. I would have liked to see a Ghoul School thing. I know Ghoul School showed up in, like, I think OKKO recently, like that Cartoon Network show. They got, like, a cameo episode or whatever. But, you know, it would have been cool to see that happen, but it just didn't end up happening. I'm sure there's, like, a demand for it. There's interest, but it just didn't end up happening, you know? These things happen. All right, let me see, Let me see. Let's find another question. Sammyverse asks, why do you think we've rarely gotten any new horror icons? I don't know. Yeah, it's... I feel like video games have spawned some horror icons for, like, a new generation. Like, unfortunately, Freddy Fazbear has become the most prominent horror Freddy, unfortunately. Like, you look up Freddy, you're gonna get that fucking bear before you get Freddy Krueger in Google Images. I know for a fact. Anytime I need to look up Freddy Krueger images, I always get that fucking... I always have to specify Krueger now, because I always get that fucking bear. Like, it's unfortunate. Like, I don't know. Movies have just become a little less, I guess, centered around, like, an individual, like, monsters or individual, like... I don't know, like, masked killer guys. Like, it's just become a little bit more, I don't know. The monsters have become real humans. Or if not that, just, or ghosts or shit like that. Like, stuff that's harder to define, or things that just are a little bit more generic and something, I guess, that could maybe have more widespread, something people can, I guess, maybe relate to more relatable horror situations. But yeah, it's, you know, it's a shame we don't really have in movies a Freddy Krueger, or like just a new Freddy Krueger, a new Michael Myers, new any of that kind of stuff, you know. They'll get, like, maybe a new movie where they get to appear, but you don't really get, like, a new equivalent of that, like a new character. Closest is shit like Annabelle or The Nun, like shit like that, where it's just, it's not quite the same. It's something, I guess, but it's unfortunate. Yeah, it's hard to define. I guess Art the Clown is, I guess, the big horror icon. I guess he's the only real one that's like equivalent to that. But yeah, I mean, there used to be, you just had like a ton of them, but yeah, not really anymore. I guess, I don't know. I guess it's part of why Art the Clown is so popular now, just because he's pretty much the only one. It's like nobody else is really thinking to push, like, here's like a scary, you know, monster or killer character that's just like the center of the action. Like, they don't really do that kind of thing anymore. It's a shame, you know? It's a shame. Alright, Not JPEG asks, tier list of the Ghoulies films. Alright, I'm gonna say number 1, Ghoulies 2. Number 2, Ghoulies... let me think. Do I want to say... I'll say number 2, Ghoulies 1. Number 3, Ghoulies 3. And number 4, Ghoulies 4. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I guess... No, okay, let's say number 2, Ghoulies 3. And number 3, Ghoulies 1. And number 4, Ghoulies 4. Alright, let's say that. Alright, let's go with that. I think that's a safe bet. I'm gonna get ripped apart for this fucking opinion, yeah. Man, get ripped apart. Gonna get destroyed. Ah. All right. Let me see. Let me see. Ricky asks, which is the worst Scooby movie, or the Scooby movie you watch the least amount of times? Well, the thing is, I mean, I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo, but I haven't watched all the Scooby-Doo stuff. I think most of the movies I haven't seen. I think I haven't seen some episodes of some of the shows, the lesser shows, kind of focus on, like, the prime stuff for me. Like, you know, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Scooby-Doo movies. Not the movies, mind you. The second series with, like, the guest stars. Pup Named Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. What's New Scooby-Doo? You know, that's the prime stuff. And, of course, you have, you know, the Red Shirt trilogy mentioned earlier. And then you have, you know, the early direct-to-video movies. Zombie Island, Witch's Ghost, Cyber Chase, Alien Invaders. So, you know, that's kind of like the domain I mostly like to inhabit with Scooby-Doo. But, from what I've seen, let me think. I don't know. I guess I'd have to probably go with Return to Zombie Island, just because it felt like the whole point of the movie was basically saying, yeah, Zombie Island, it just didn't happen. Like, nothing you saw in the original Zombie Island actually happened, you know. Just, you love the original Zombie Island, yeah, it didn't really happen. Like, there weren't zombies, there weren't cat monsters. There was maybe one cat monster, but yeah, there weren't any cat monsters. You probably weren't cat monsters. There wasn't anything cool. It didn't happen. It just felt like just debunking everything that happened in the original Zombie Island. It just felt like pissing on the legacy of, like, the best Scooby-Doo movie, just, I don't know, for a buck, where it's like so many people probably bought it thinking, oh man, yeah, they're returning to Zombie Island. They're returning to, like, one of the best Scooby things ever, and it's just, like, so sad, you know? It's sad. It's a very sad movie to watch. It's like, yeah, I don't know what they were thinking, but they did it. Okay. Tristan asks, would you ever sell physical art prints or take commissions? I don't know about that. I mean, I do art, you know, I do draw, but I don't draw enough where I'd feel comfortable, I don't know, charging somebody for that, you know, because what you're looking at, like this Toon Me, I drew it, you know, I drew that, the background I drew. A lot of other art you see on the channel, most of the art you see on the channel I drew, but, you know, it's pretty, you know, it's not amazing, so I'd never, like, I don't know, do commissions. I'd like to get better at drawing and have, like, you know, animation and illustrations become a bigger aspect in certain ways, but just, I don't know, I need to get better before I could feel comfortable doing something like that, yeah. Alright, let me see. Funny Clown asks, would you rather be forced to watch Return to Zombie Island or Velma at gunpoint? Well, at gunpoint? Well, okay, well, yeah, I'd rather watch Return to Zombie Island over Velma, I guess, just because Return to Zombie Island is shorter, you know? They're both pretty shitty, you know? They're both kind of shitty. But, you know, Return to Zombie Island will be over sooner, so there's that at least. There is that, you know? There's always that, you know? Engineer for the Future says, when will you review the old Myers Place book? The video probably won't come out until October. I got the audiobook. I've begun reading the book and recording it for the Patreon, so if you want to listen to that audiobook early and find out what the whole story is early, you know, check it out. The whole audiobook will be available for free here on YouTube when it's completed, though. But the review is going to come out before the full audiobook is, so, you know, gonna be waiting a bit, but, you know, gonna be finally happening soon. And then I gotta fucking figure out how to make the third review of the review of the third young adult Halloween novel happen, because, you know, though, if you don't know, those young adult novels, I think, had a very limited print run, so they're very hard to find. They all cost hundreds of dollars. I saw, like, to get a full set of them, somebody has a full set on eBay. I think it's like $800 for all three of them, which is insane. I wanted to try to, I don't know, scan the books so they could just be freely read online, but I just couldn't really do it without severely damaging the books, which I didn't want to do because they're loaned to me. So I just didn't do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping somebody will just... I guess I could just transcribe the books, like just type out the books, because they're not very long. I guess I could have done that. But I don't know, I just didn't feel like it, you know. I'm hoping somebody will fucking do that, because I know somebody transcribed the original Halloween novelization, so you can just read the original Halloween novelization as a PDF. Hopefully somebody will do that, too, someday. But, hasn't happened yet for those young adult novels. That's unfortunately just the world we live in. I wish, though. I wish. All right. Now to find the final question. But Lion Queen 06 says, "Hi, Dr. Wolfula. Glad you're feeling better. Thank you. Yeah, I was sick all week, but I'm finally feeling better. And I'm glad to finally be doing this stream, which will be ending soon once I find an appropriate final question." All right. Well, okay, this won't count. Sammyverse says, "What's the better Halloween trilogy, the Blumhouse movies or the young adult novels?" Well, I haven't finished the young adult novels. I will say I, enjoyed the new Blumhouse trilogy, at least the first two, more than I'm enjoying these young adult novels necessarily. The old Myers house, I mean, the first one, Scream Factory, had a lot of teen romance shit in it, like lots of girls, like, really, I don't know, really obsessed with boys, just thinking about boys, like, talking about how hot a boy is, like, that kind of shit, like, really heavy on that. And the second one, Old Myers House, is even heavier on that stuff. I'm admittedly 50 pages in, I'm 5 chapters into my audiobook, I need to continue reading it, but it's kind of rough because there's, like, very little in the way of Michael Myers in those 50 pages. It's lots of the character just thinking about a boy she likes and how he looks like Brad Pitt. Like, it's a little rough. You might not like, I don't know, the recent Halloween movies, but at least they don't focus on, like, a girl kind of, talking about how hot a boy is for, like, 50 pages. It's a little, it's a little crazy. All right, Not JPEG says, "Do you miss the Joe Bob Briggs and Elvira TV shows?" Well, as far as I know, Joe Bob is still making Last Drive-In, so he's still doing stuff. Unless I missed that he got canceled by Shudder. I know Shudder was having some issues, but admittedly, I really loved the Elvira movie, but I didn't really watch Elvira. Her actual shows, it just wasn't on for me, but, I maybe would have appreciated it. I am a big fan of Elvira, like, physically, I bought the Elvira action figure, I bought a couple of Elvira action figures, and my mouse pad is Elvira. It's a titty mouse pad, Elvira, so, I appreciate the, that aspect, but, it was never... Besides the movie, I'm not super familiar with Elvira, unfortunately. All right, now let's find a real final question. Let's see. Okay, Tristan says, "What was your earliest horror memory? What was the thing that really hooked you to the genre?" Well, I guess when I went to the movie theater back in, I believe it was 1910. That was back when films were a little bit more of a niche novelty. I believe Thomas Edison was the one who produced this film. It was a showing of his interpretation of Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. And, it was like a technical marvel for its time. It was something I wasn't expecting to see on the screen. See this skeleton reanimated into a human figure, a human-like figure, terrorizing the doctor who created him. I wasn't expecting to see it realized so vividly, so I think, it's a very early memory, admittedly, but, yeah. Corey Kamerman says, "Shudder is increasing sub prices." Yeah, that's unfortunate. I was a little disappointed when I got Shudder again, and unless you get Shudder through Amazon Prime Video, like, you're locked at 720p, at least the last time I tried it. Like, when I was watching that Bloody Christmas movie, I was like, wow, the resolution is really low. It turns out, like, they just lock at 720p. Like, it's kind of crazy. I know, I guess it's, I don't know, they're $5, at least they were $5. I don't know what they are now. So I think, I don't know, they, like, lower the, the bit rate just, they lower the bit rate just for the sake of, like, saving some money somewhere. All right, now let's find a real final question that I can answer. Engineer for the Future says, I just found all 3 books on the Internet Archive. Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to look into that then. Thanks for the tip. That's interesting. I wasn't aware someone finally transcribed them. All right, okay, that's cool. Okay, now let's find a real final question. Let's see. I got a Windows security pop up. Okay, that's whatever. And greetings to you, Crawberry Strush. Greetings. Okay, alright, let's see. Mr. Video says, I should pitch a horror cartoon to Shudder. Well, you should pitch it fast, because they might not be around for much longer. Hopefully they're still around, but I don't know. Based on what I've been hearing, things aren't looking great. Okay, well, that's, a Druzy, TMI. Mr. Video, I don't know what Poppy Playtime is. I wish I did, though. Okay, Lion Queen asked thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Well, I talked about Freddy a bit during the stream, but I didn't really talk about my thoughts on what I thought about the movie that's coming out. It looks interesting, but I don't know. I think maybe I only saw the teaser, but the teaser just kind of looked like one of those promos Halloween Horror Nights makes for its houses. It didn't really look like a real movie. It just looked like little bits and pieces of, like, scary images and then stuff popping out, which I guess is what the games are like, but I guess, I don't know. I think they made a new trailer recently that hopefully goes more into the story, because based on what I saw, it just kind of also looked, I don't know, maybe a little cheap. I don't know, but I'm gonna see it, I'm gonna give my thoughts on it in a video once it comes out. That's definitely a movie I can't skip, that's for sure. It's not like The Boogeyman or some other shit. Like, I gotta definitely see Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, that's the movie. You're gonna see one movie this year. It might not be Saw 10, but it'll maybe, hopefully, at least be Five Nights at Freddy's. But, it's one of those things where, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't, because I'm sure the movie's gonna live up to everything the fans of it want it to be, but admittedly, not really into the game, so hopefully I'll still like it for what it is. I'll still be able to appreciate it, but I'm afraid I might not, and might be suffering for it. It's all, it's kind of funny, because I got some, like, bits of backlash for, like, some of my thoughts on, my thoughts on the fucking Banana Splits horror movie that got released, or Willy's Wonderland, so I'm just kind of, I'm just a little afraid, like, if I don't like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, what that could end up looking like. But whatever, I don't know. All right, I've been talking for long enough, 2.5 hours long. It's time for me to call it a night, but thank you guys for watching. Thanks for your support, and I'll see you guys next time with my Cruel Jaws review. If you like this stream, like it, and if you loved it, subscribe for more, and make sure to click the bell so you don't miss out on future streams when they go live, and also future videos when they go live. Also, follow me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Dr. Wolfula. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Follow me on X.com now. Yeah, it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. So follow me on X at Dr. Wolfula. Oh, God. Fucking X. I'm also on Threads now. It's too new for me to bother adding the logo to that. So follow me at Threads at Dr. Wolfula too if you're on Threads. you know, if you're interested. I don't know. Maybe somebody's interested in threads. Also, support me on Patreon at patreon.com/drwolfula. You'll get early access to content, and you'll also get weekly bonus movie nights every Sunday, so consider it. All right, I am, wiped out. It's 100 degrees. I turned off the air conditioner. I need to finally rest. Good night. Pleasant screams. Bye-bye.
Hope you enjoyed this live stream. Why don't you watch another thing while I have your attention?